Dr. Charlie Warden. I have a great book out. There's a lot to you. Thank you so much for coming in, and you were highly recommended by Peter McCullough. He really had a lot of great things to say about you.
Well, it's been a very interesting journey for me. I've got to know Peter, and it's an exciting journey. Now we're getting to the fun part, because for the last 2.5, 3 years, people have been looking at me and going, well, a lot of what he says makes sense, but it's a bit way out there. I grew up, you've read my story, I grew up questioning things. And I think that's a good thing to do. And I was speaking to the driver on the way up here about common sense. Some things, you just look at them. The way I opened him up on the way here, just talking to him, was asking him about asymptomatic. If you've got a cold, you've got a cold. What about if you test positive for a cold and you haven't got a cold? You're asymptomatic. I said, I can't understand how anybody with a brain cell fell for that.
Well, you know what I think it was? Is that the media just constantly pounds it down. Just like if I tell you this is black enough, and you're, say, 18 years old, 25, this is black, eventually you're going to think that's black or red or whatever color. So, and then you have social media playing along with it all, going with it. So everywhere, figure ages between 21 and 40, if not older, any platform they're going to go to is, this is asymptomatic. This is asymptomatic. So they don't know any other way to believe. And I think a big problem is people aren't thinking for themselves. They want to be told what to do. And that's what I've been seeing. You know, people want to go to the doctor, here, take this and leave, instead of, okay, let me see what that is. Let me do a little bit of 10-minute research on my own before anything, not just this stuff in general, but just people have been accustomed to being, do this, do that, do this.
It is, and you hit on another word. There's 2 words that have been changed in my lifetime. Sick.
Yeah.
Which used to mean when you were not well, now means really good. And wicked, which used to mean really bad. And this is how they keep pumping out this thing that something is something that it's not. And that's where common sense comes in. And when I started this journey, most of my audience, I'd say 90%, were women, because they have common sense.
Wow, 90% women.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's tough.
Yeah. Now I would say I'm about 75% women. I'm glad that the men are waking up. But in the old days, the men used to go to the pub and get pissed and talk shit. I was one of them.
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
We all were.
Exactly. You go down there and just talk absolute rubbish, where women have this sixth sense. My wife, Turkish, Muslim, and she can walk past somebody, and without even talking to them, she can tell you if they're a good person or a bad person by their vibration, by their aura, by who they are. And I saw it last night when I had dinner with Donald Trump. There's an aura about him. There's an aura about Melania. Also, his daughter was there, Ivanka, and her husband, Jared Kushner.
Smart guy.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
Well, when he walked in, I thought it was a boy. He looks like a boy. And then I was like, oh, hang on, that's Jared Kushner. The moment he put his arm around Ivanka, I realised that was,
okay, that's it.
That's who he is.
I'll tell you what, I learned the hard way. Women do have that sixth sense.
They do.
I learned it the hard way many times. Yeah. And finally I said, you know what? Nope, they know. You're dead.
Do. My wife often reminds me, she said, I'm always right. And I said, you drive me mad. You drive me mad when you say that. But on the odd occasion where I'm right, and I've just been right with her on one thing recently.
What's your odds, Charlie?
Oh,
what's your odds of being right?
1 in 100. I mean, 1%. She's more often than not right, and I've learned that learn to respect our women. This is what this fight is about: respecting our women and looking after our children, which is something that's been left behind over the last 20 years by the educational system. And by the way, that people don't even know if they're a man or a woman. I come from the school that if you drop your trousers and you've got one, you're a man. And if you haven't got one, you're a woman. That simple. The fact you might feel like a woman, I don't give what you feel like.
Did you see What's a Woman? by I forget his name. Walsh is his last name. They took it off everything. It's still on. You got to go through his website. He was just on Rogan, and he did a whole documentary on it. And he went and talked to these teachers, left and right. At 5, 6 years old, 10, 9, it's unbelievable.
It is.
And they actually think it's okay.
I know. That's the sad part about it.
And the sickest part about it is when he's going on these interviews, they know this is going to go somewhere, and they are just talking about it like we're talking about sparkling water and a Monster drink.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing.
And this is what we're standing up against. And we've allowed it to happen. And so it's an awful lot harder for us now to get it back where we should never have let it happen in the first place. But we can't change what's happened in the past. What we can change about is today. The trouble is there's a lot of damage been done to a generation of people. I have my second-born son who refuses to talk to me. We fell out over a discussion where he claimed that being gay was normal. And my daughter's gay. And I said, being gay is not normal. What it is acceptable but not normal. And I accept my daughter, I accept her choices, but it's not normal. And he said, unless you can see it as normal, I'm not prepared to talk to you. And this is their mindset. So I actually did some research on the word normal. I did 100 hours of research into what the word normal means. And if you break it down, it comes to the rule of 62. So if 62% of the world do something in law, it becomes normal in law. So having established what was the norm, or the normal, at 62%, I then went about finding out what percentage of the world's population were gay, feeling very confident that it was less than 62%. It was 1.8%.
Wow.
1.8% of the world's population are gay. There's a further 0.4% who haven't got a clue what they are. So we give them the benefit of a doubt and we go up to 2.2%. They're still 60% off normal.
Now, you've been to a lot of countries, and we'll get into all of that. The countries that are more like U.S., what do they think of us? With us worrying about this gender thing, this green thing, inflation crazy, all this nutty stuff, while what I'm seeing is other countries getting stronger and stronger and stronger while we're going the other way. The other countries that are similar to U.S., not, communists and so forth, what do you think or how are they perceiving us now?
Well, I see you from the outside rather than the inside. When I come here, it's very different to what we see you from the other side. The rest of the world sees what was the world's greatest economy destroyed by an idiot. And that's how we see it. The rest of the world sees Biden as a complete idiot. There's nothing that he's done that's been constructive. The borders are open, the economy's gone to pieces. He shut down the pipeline with a completely fake bullshit story about a Green New Deal that doesn't exist. Anybody who's done any research, proper research, knows that the polar ice cap has got more ice on it this year than it's ever had in its history.
Ever.
And all of this global warming lie is complete bullshit. It doesn't exist. The world gets warmer and colder. That's how it is.
You could take a chimpanzee and just open up a book to a chimpanzee, and you can look back thousands of years.
Yep.
This is a constant thing that evolves. Is the gas adding to it? Probably a little bit. But what, a percentage?
No, less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
It's way less than 1% as well.
Yeah, I mean, how many ice ages that they tell you that we've had? We know of 3. I know Graham Hancock finally had gotten a bunch of data. Thank goodness Brazil didn't vote to take down the Amazon rainforest. But he thinks that civilization that built the pyramids were 100,000 years ago. Imagine that, 100,000 years ago. That's insane.
It is. It is. And the one thing that's very sad is that we don't know our real history because it's been hidden from us. And you can never, ever, build a house unless you know what the foundations are. You can never go anywhere in life unless you know where you've come from. The United Kingdom, as an example, has some pretty disgusting history that's been hidden from us. And we point the finger at everybody else about corruption. The United Kingdom is as corrupt, if not more corrupt, than countries in Africa.
Really?
Yeah, far more.
See, from the outside, from somebody like me, there's never been. I think of United Kingdom as very proper, very together. What are some things that are going on over there that we never hear about here?
Well, let's take two countries, Africa and Russia. If you've got filthy, filthy, dirty money, London is the easiest place to launder it.
Great point.
And you can buy property, and the Russians have been doing it, the Africans have been doing it, and it's the old saying, money talks, bullshit walks.
Yep. And
it happens, we've seen it happen, and they turn a blind eye. The Chinese, very clever. They've laundered all their filthy money through London as well. And they've done it very cleverly. They're way too clever. The Chinese will lend you money, interest-free, without a repayment date. So if you're a politician trying to make a point, you go, I'm so-and-so. My job is to build this hospital, and I'm going to do it because the Chinese said, we don't want them to know it's come from us. We want them to believe it's come from you. And, of course, the politicians are gone, yeah, nice feather in my cap. And, of course, they build this hospital, and then if anybody knows how the Chinese work, very clever, they've built hospitals, they've built schools, they've built universities, they've built everything. And about 5 years later, they go, I tell you what I do need from you. Just for a little return for all we've done for you. We haven't asked for anything. And then suddenly you realise you're up the creek without a paddle. And you got to do it. And they've got you by the short and curlies. They're so clever.
And we're so stupid.
We're driven by greed. The Western world is driven by greed.
And ego, right?
And ego. And that's what makes it their job so easy. It's not rocket science.
Well, just look at the midterms right now. The Republicans, in my opinion, could not have been stupider, okay? The Democrats come with the abortion.
Yep.
Just shut up, right? You know that's bait. Just for 2 months, don't say anything. Just, okay, yeah, abortion, the border, China, whatever this. Don't even feed into it. Then they bring up the weed. Purposely, right before the election, Republicans have to come out and say, we don't want weed, it's a gay. If they just shut up for 2 months. Because now what happened, in my opinion, they're rigging it. That's why it's taking forever with the mail-ins. So they got so much, and this one they really got a rig. They overdid it last time. But now, with the fact that the Republicans took the bait for the abortion, the marijuana, and they tried with the transgender thing, but it didn't go over too well. But the other two they did. So now a lot of people with the abortion and the marijuana, Republicans lost them. They should have just been just shut up for 2 months.
Well, that's what the media told you. I know different.
Tell me.
The Republicans absolutely smashed the Democrats out of the park. But the media have told you what you've just said. And that's not true.
Yeah, I just looked this morning and
exactly.
It was...
The Republicans smashed it out of the park to a level like... Talk about a red wave. It was a red wave out of proportion, but the media are lying to the public about it. And they will get caught, 100%. But this is one of the biggest psyops ever. And this is the biggest sting operation ever that has been set up beautifully to do exactly that, to expose them. Because the one thing that you can't do in this war is you cannot expose them because nobody will believe you. They have to do it themselves. And I've learned this on this journey. And they've allowed them to do it themselves. What they've done right now with the midterms is way beyond criminal. Because if you can imagine, first of all, Biden is the president of the United States of America Corporation. The corporation was put into receivership in 2018. The corporation was shut down fully in 2021, well over a year ago. So the corporation does not exist anymore.
I didn't even know there was a corporation attached to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a corporation, and the corporation documentation is in Companies House in London and can be viewed by anybody.
Wow.
Along with the corporation, by the way, just while you're looking there, you'll find the United Kingdom Corporation, bankrupt. European Union Corporation, bankrupt. The Commonwealth Corporation, bankrupt. All of these corporations were declared bankrupt in 2018 and finalized in 2021. So you have a president of a corporation. So Biden is the president of a bankrupt, non-existent corporation. That's why Biden's never been inside the White House. Never had the military codes from the Pentagon. Never had any connection with the Pentagon.
That's interesting.
The United States is not run from the Pentagon. It's not run from Washington at the moment. It's not run from D.C. at all. It's run from other locations in America.
You know who else told me that? Who I'm actually pretty good friends with, Roger Stone.
I know Roger very well.
Yeah. He makes some good gravy. You ever eat over there?
I haven't.
He can cook some good gravy.
I think the world of him. He's a very nice man.
Very nice. I have this little stone there that he has. Yeah. He brings all his stuff in. He's got a book bag when he comes in.
Yeah, no, he's a very good man. The United States, the DOJ, Department of Justice, is run from Temple in Texas, and the DOD is run from Reno in Nevada, and has been now for 2 years. So it has nothing to do with Washington District of Columbia. That's been extinct. Now then, you go back to 2021. And the military have been running the United States of America since then. And they announced in 2021 that they were taking orders from their commander-in-chief, who happened to be Donald Trump.
In 2021?
In 2021.
This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all types of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy.
The military have been taking orders from Trump since 2021. But this pantomime has to be played out for people to see it. And if you look at people like Kim Clement, the prophet, he prophesied a long time ago that there would be 2 presidents.
Wow. Now, how would you cover that up? Like, how do you cover all of that up? I understand how that they can do it. I mean, we've seen them do it. But how would they cover that much up?
I'm looking at you, Tony. And you,
Tommy. Tony's the other guy.
Oh, sorry.
That's who you talk to.
Yeah, Tommy. And you've got an Italian look about you.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yes, full time.
You know the Mafia in Italy.
Yeah.
They can cover up anything.
That is true.
And that's just the Italian Mafia. Now, you talk about the Khazarian Mafia. You talk about the deep state and the cabal. They've got far more at their disposal. Far more than the Italian Mafia ever had.
And Dr. Ward, for those who don't know, could you explain what the Khazarian, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Is?
Yeah, these, first of all, that's a subject in its own context, because this is, if you look at the who controlled the world, you go back to the Phoenician families. There was 13 Phoenician families, 13 bloodlines, and most people were unaware of that. We seized their assets back in 2020, and the wealthiest family was the Pacer family, and their assets were 34 quadrillion.
Quadrillion?
Yeah.
That would be more than a trillion, right? Is that what is after the trillion?
Yes. Well, if you divide it up equally with everybody on the planet, it's 4.5 million per person.
I'll take
puts
it.
it into perspective.
Can we jump in the pot?
Exactly. Right.
You want in the pot, Scott?
That's just one family.
And why'd they seize it all?
Because they stole it all from the people. This has all been taken in tax. These are the rulers of the world. Underneath that level, you've got the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bilderbergs, the Soroses, the Gateses, all of that lot in the next levels and next levels down. So the top boys were taken out 2.5 years ago. The next level were taken out probably 2 years ago, and they're taking them down top down. But in total, at the bottom of the deep state and the cabal, you've got about 10 million people in total. The Khazarian Mafia, the Khazars, interestingly, formerly Nazis, claimed that they were Jews. A bit like what we're going through now, where they identified as Jews. A bit like the Zionists. They identified as Jews all those years ago.
What is with all this identify shit?
Oh, I know. It's happened before, and it's happening right now. You are what you are. And
you're Dr. Charlie Ward.
Exactly right.
I'm Mr. Tommy. I'm Mscs Media.
Yeah.
He's Scott.
Exactly.
Am I missing something here?
No, but then suddenly you got this world that, well, I feel more like a girl. No, you're a bloke. And if you want to dress up as a girl, if you want to wear a skirt, you're probably Scottish. Get over it. Move to Scotland.
My friend in Canada, that's the first time I heard bloke. He would always call me a bloke. He'd be like, you dumb bloke. Mate,
exactly.
Mate, you're just a dumb bloke. Yeah. I told you the other button.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was a good guy. His name was Charlie, too.
Okay, so the Khazarian Mafia were, they're a very strong mafia. The Nazis never lost the Second World War. They split up. Half went to Ukraine, half went to Hollywood. They ran the Hollywood set, the whole film industry. They were a mafia, and they had control, and they had the money because they had control of the Federal Reserve. I love this with Americans because I've had so many arguments over the last 20 years with people who think the Federal Reserve was owned by the government. I said it was never federal and there was never a reserve. It was a private company owned by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers.
Yeah, all you have to do is read it.
Exactly, it's all there. Oh, I had people telling me that I hadn't got a clue what I was talking about.
If the peanut over here across from you knows that,
yeah, exactly.
Then, I mean...
Oh, but because they've heard it on the telly, they believe it's...
Fuck that. Too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is all part of the evil side, and these mafias, and the other thing is with the mafia, they've got the media on their side. And that's why people like you and I have now got audiences, because they're sick and tired of lies. And I had a saying which I used in New York, which sort of went down well, that I said if it looks like shit and smells like shit, it's probably shit. But I said for my posh audience, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, unless you watch the television. If you watch the television, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a transvestite squirrel. And that sort of gets the point across as to where we're at right now.
You catch somebody's attention when you say that.
You get their attention. And
when I first noticed it, really, really noticed it, when they started all of a sudden going away from Ukraine and the border, anything negative, and it wasn't just CNN, MSNBC, all of them did.
Yeah.
That's when I started looking. And, more and more people I talk to, I didn't think of all this. I'm not that smart. But after talking to guys like you and women, and also doing my own research, they're all in cahoots together, even Fox.
Mm-hmm.
The big farm is paying the commercials, who's paying the bills for all the stations. So they're all going to go together. They're told what to do. And now with you throwing in, I'm going to say it wrong again, the consent, what's the Mafia?
Khazarian.
That's how crazy it is that I never even heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
The Khazarian Mafia then is behind that.
Yeah.
And they're in with Big Pharma.
Yep. They're all in bed together.
I mean, that alone, proves your point. And then you go back to Hollywood, And I remember when I was reading about how I was a big Kobe Bryant fan.
Okay.
So I read a lot about LA and what it was like. And years ago, Hollywood wasn't Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So how does Hollywood just all of a sudden, there's the Hollywood Hills, mm-hmm. there's Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive. Mm-hmm. There's only one group of people that could do something that, just like Vegas. Mm-hmm. And that's some type of mafia, in my opinion. How else are you going to have the kind of money to do that? Where all of a sudden you have California, which was always California, but all of a sudden it becomes L.A., Hollywood Hills, the Hills, etc. Correct?
Yeah, and it's exactly for those people who live near here as to Miami, South Beach. How did that happen? Oh, cocaine.
Duh.
You don't need to be a rocket scientist.
Just go watch Scarface, right?
Exactly right. These are all, they're all mafias. They're all, and look, there's good things and bad things with mafias. I grew up working with mafias for many, many years. I've worked with the Russian mafia, the Romanovs. I've worked with the Chinese mafia, the Triads and the Dragon family. I've worked with the Indian mafia. I've worked with the Irish mafia, the English mafia. The one thing about mafia, they normally have the same code, that you don't lie and you don't steal. The difference is with their mafia, that's exactly what they do. So they do exactly the opposite of what I would call good mafias. Like, I remember being told by one of the top mafia bosses 30 years ago, never lie to me, Charlie. Even if you fucked up, in their own words, tell me the truth and we'll sort it out. But if you lie to me and I sort out a lie, I will kill you because you've embarrassed me. And I don't mind that. I'd much rather tell them the truth. Yeah, they go mad for about 15 minutes because they're trying to work out in their own mind how to solve the problem, especially if money's gone missing, which is normally what the problem is. Somebody's stolen some money. And if it's because of your own stupidity, you're better off telling them that rather than trying to make up a story.
Because like you said, you embarrass them. I grew up around it in South Philly.
Exactly.
And I remember my friends that were constantly there. I just remember three things. No drugs.
Yep. No
stealing.
Yep.
Do not fuck with any cops. Mm. And don't hurt anybody for no reason.
Yeah.
And keep it within.
Yeah, exactly.
That's as far as I knew.
Old school rules. And all the violence that you see, we see it in Spain where people get shot and they go, oh, there's lots of shootings. There's not. This is all firms against firms because somebody stood on somebody's toes to do with drugs, prostitution, something in those fields. But it's not just a random bloke that gets shot. Yeah, there's always a risk of ricochet bullets. There's always a risk of mistaken identity. I get that. But these people are after somebody specific, always.
Dr. Ward, let me ask you this. If you decide to deal with the mafia, right, mm-hmm. whichever one, mm-hmm. you decide to do it. Mm-hmm. You decide to make a deal with them. Mm-hmm. If you fuck up and they kill you, mm-hmm. you decided to work with them. You knew the risk.
Yeah, of course.
So if you know the risk going into it and you make that deal, it sounds horrible, but you put yourself in the position. You said, okay, you knew what you were getting into. So with that being said, that's your own fault, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I've always enjoyed the risk. I've always enjoyed the adventure of what I do. That's why I was moving these huge sums of money. That's why I'm in the position I'm in right now. I was moving vast sums of money for big clients that I never knew who the clients were because they don't identify themselves. And I often, in fact, I can show you because it's always important to show people when you're talking about money. And you're talking about vast sums, you can describe it yourself, but there is $100 million in cash, which is 1 cubic meter and 1 metric ton.
But that was the thing. Make it shoot up there. That's a lot of cash.
That's a lot of cash. Now, that's straightforward, clean money. And I was moving that around the world without knowing about it. What for? But for the new financial system. To be into the new gold bullion exchange banks in place of the gold that was on its way, but it was put there as a token gesture. This is all seized money, so it's been used for that. And then I was in Africa, in Accra, in Ghana, about 4 years ago, I think. And I was asked to move some money, which was not quite the same as that. It was still cash, but there was $1.8 billion.
Billion?
And there was 25 million per box. But if you look at the end of each box, you'll notice it's International Red Cross money and UNICEF money. Is it?
Yeah.
And I've shown that on my own channel. But every box has UNICEF or the Red Cross on there. So this is money that good people have given in the hopes to save a life in Africa. To save a life in Africa. And it wasn't getting through. The politicians were stealing it. And I just turned around and said, no, I'm not prepared to do it. And I had a few big black guys put their nose against mine, and they're going to take me to the airport. I'm out of here. I'm not involved. I'm not taking this money. It's filthy. And I walked off I could have been shot. I could have been anything. But I said, take me to the airport. I got hold of one guy who was a driver and said, drive. And he was like, oh, my boss. I said, fuck your boss. You take me to the airport. When I got to the airport, I met an ambassador who I know, a US ambassador. And he looked at me. He's gone, well done, Charlie. I gone, what are you talking about? He said, that was it. We were just testing to see if you'd touch it or not.
Oh, shit. Wow.
And I said, oh, that's nice. Nice of you to let me know. Said,
yeah. Meanwhile, you're worried about getting your head blown off on the way out.
The thing is, I've never been scared. Since losing my son 12, 13 years ago, my first son. Yeah, you lose your fear of death because I just think I'll go and be with him.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal to me. If
Become numb.
Yeah, you do. So sometimes it's scary because they go, oh, we're going to kill you. It's like, yeah, thank you for that. Really.
But you start to wonder, how are they going to do it, right?
No,
no,
don't bother me.
Right. See, in that situation, I'd be like, well, if it's just a pop, okay. But are they going to torture me with the whole bullshit,
That wouldn't bother me at all because I trust God enough for that, more than enough. I trust God implicitly.
And what are you going to do anyway?
Exactly.
You can't stop it. You can't change it.
God has left me because my work's not finished. The ones whose work's finished, he takes them home. But he's left Charlie behind because he's got more to do. So that side doesn't particularly bother me. And that infuriates them and intimidates them, the fact that you're not scared. I forgot what we were talking about then. But So the ambassador,
they tested you.
They tested me. And then he just basically said to me, the money you've been moving before, you've been moving for us without you knowing anything about it. I said, oh, okay. He said, but in their own words, we used disposable so you wouldn't know it was us, which is just people that if they lost it, it wouldn't matter. That's how cynical they are. And he said, expect a phone call in a couple of weeks, or 4 weeks, I think it was, within the next 4 weeks, within the next month. And I got a phone call, literally a month later, from a person in the quantum financial system who said to me, you've been working on the outside for a long time. We've been watching you. We don't know quite how you do it, but you do it. And we'd like to know. And I said, well, I'm not telling anybody because the only person that knows is me. And the minute I share it with anybody else, it goes crazy. So they offered me the opportunity to work on the inside as a communications director rather than the outside. And I said, my wife will be very happy about that because she doesn't like when I'm moving around because it's highly dangerous. So now I've been working now on the inside for about 2.5 years, just as a communications director, telling people what's going on. I'm aware of everything. And it's been a fascinating journey.
I've read, Charlie, I've read.
Yeah.
Your book is very good, which we're going to get to. Mm-hmm. But I have to ask you this. So what is your opinion with Elon Musk? I just saw this morning. Can you pull up tab 1? Mm-hmm. I just saw this morning that the executive of Twitter who had kept Biden's laptop censored,
mm-hmm.
he just left. This guy here, he just left. He resigned after Musk takeover.
Yep.
And then I had seen on the news that, again, the bullshit,
mm-hmm.
but this is the New York Post. I still like the Post,
mm-hmm.
even if it's half bullshit. It's something, as a kid, I used to always get on the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Remember sitting on the toilet reading the newspaper?
No.
Oh, that's what we do in America.
Okay.
Well, they had been saying that, Elon was free speech. Now people are leaving, this, that, the other.
Mm-hmm.
And now he might end up somewhere in the middle. Now, what do you think happens with this whole Elon Musk taking over Twitter, blah, 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 blah.
Well, for Elon Musk with Twitter, the whole charade was to expose how corrupt it was. And, of course, Twitter was the mouthpiece for the deep state.
Why do you think they picked Twitter, Dr. Ward? Why Twitter?
Well, they had to pick a channel, and that was the easy one to control.
Oh, no, that's right. Somebody's daughter is was head of.
That's right. It was incestuous
somebody
the whole way through.
Yeah.
So there was that going on, and we now know the impact that media has. I have an insiders club where we have a lot of people on there. We do shows twice a week, and my viewing figures are greater than CNN. And I'm a 62-year-old granddad with no hair and no makeup.
How about all that money they spent on that dumb CNN Plus? Nobody even watches them to begin with. What'd they drop, 400 million?
Yeah.
Something insane?
Yeah, but then they're not in touch with the real world at all, never have been, where you and I we connect with real people. We talk to real people. We do. And I'm not a journalist. But no, exactly. But I'm far better. I do far more work than any of the professional journalists have ever done.
I agree with you, because we don't go, hey, Dr. Ward, can you tell me what you think of inflation? Up, you have 5 seconds. We have a hard cut.
Yeah.
How can, even if the news wasn't completely corrupt, how are you going to answer the questions that they ask in 2 minutes?
Well, they don't want you to, because they want to control the narrative.
Exactly right.
And that's why whenever I go on a show of any kind, number one, I never want to know the questions before. Nothing is off limits. And if I know the answer, I'll give it to you. And if I don't, I'll find out. Simple as that. And people see right through it.
So now, do you think Elon sticks to his word? Do you think he keeps it open? Do you think he's involved in any of this shit in some sort of way?
Just remember that Elon is a genius.
Oh, I know.
And every genius is flawed.
Yes, I'm aware.
Whether it's Maradona or they're all flawed in their way, but they're all geniuses. Elon is an absolute genius. From what I understand, he was on the bad side for a time. He chose in his wisdom to go across on the good side, which I think was a smart move. He also put all the Starlink satellites into space, linked them all up. He's an incredibly clever man. Buying Twitter was done for a purpose. I mean, for him, the money is irrelevant. I think it will be very interesting, because there's a lot of people now that are leaving Twitter in a hurry that will be in complete panic mode, because they've done some pretty seriously bad things. None more so than lying to the SEC about how many people they've got, and etc. And if you lie to the SEC...
Just ask Jordan Belfort.
Exactly right. It carries a huge penalty. And isn't it interesting how they can fact-check in milliseconds anything to do that goes against the narrative, and yet they can't fact-check paedophilia and child trafficking and adrenochrome and stuff like that. It's amazing.
Very amazing. And to your point with Twitter, so Twitter can violate the SEC to all hell, and nothing happens. And then somehow, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, Biden comes out about looking into Twitter, looking into Elon, because he deals with a bunch of other countries and this and that. But the 20 million robots that they valued Twitter at $44 billion, which is lying to the SEC, being that it is in the market, that's just okay. Mm-hmm. And he still ended up paying the $44 billion, right?
Yeah.
He paid full price.
Yeah. But to him, it's not worth. The money is fiat currency.
Yeah.
It has no value.
And he knows that.
He knows that. They've just printed it. It has no value at all, because when we move to the quantum financial system, that value of that money is zero. The same as all the money that Biden sent to Ukraine. It'll have no value in a very short period of time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you that. Can you explain the quantum system?
Well, it was very interesting last night when I was having dinner with Trump. I was grabbed on a table by a lady. I'm not going to give away her age because I don't know, but she was older than me.
In Italy, if you ask a woman her age, you'll get slapped with a gravy stick to no end.
Exactly. Well, she was the head of the Trumpettes. So she was the head of the women that support Trump. And she was a lovely, lovely lady. And she's just, I was called to her table to explain the quantum financial system. And she said to me, Charlie, keep it simple because I'm old. So I said, in very simple layman's terms, the quantum financial system is very much like blockchain technology. It's digital currency. But you'll have your wallet on your phone, and it won't be an iPhone, it'll be a Q phone. So it will be a quantum phone. So you'll have quantum voting, quantum education, and quantum financial system all on your phone. So if I want to send you money in one currency, it arrives within milliseconds in yours, 1-to-1. So she said, well, what will be in my wallet? Forget my phone. What will be in my wallet? And I said, well, for a period of time, and a Charlie guess is probably 10 years, we'll have to use rainbow currency, which is what they've given the name of, which will be notes and coins. But there will be gold-backed notes and coins that will have a physical value rather than just as they are right now. And then we got onto the subject of compliance. And I said, well, for the first time ever, we won't have compliance done by humans or by artificial intelligence. It'll be off planet. So she's gone, well, how does that work? And I said, well, this is something that's new to me, but it's to do with quantum consciousness. So that if you're saying one thing and your consciousness is another, it'll pick up on that. But if you're genuinely doing the right thing, things will just run smoothly. And I was talking to the taxi driver on the way here about aliens. He said, do you believe in aliens? I said, I believe that people use the term alien, it's like a collective. I think the good aliens are probably called angels. I think the bad ones are probably called demons. And they probably look nothing like we see on the telly. They probably look just like us. But some are very good people and some are very bad people. But that's my perception of aliens.
As you're talking to a guy that has Bob Lazar's UFO thing and aliens everywhere.
I have no problem with that.
I actually think, in my opinion, especially after reading a bunch of the architectural work that Graham did and Randall did, when they started to break down the pyramids because they were allowed to, they had to hold the data for a long time so that they could actually build a facility to research it without the government stepping in and blocking it out. Part of it looks to me, when you really read through it, is that, like you said, like we were talking earlier, that there's things that are coming through the lake when they test it is 100,000 years old. Mm-hmm. Okay, that doesn't lie. Mm-hmm. So, whatever was, if something was there and you can date it 100,000 years, that means that was there 100,000 years ago, not 6. Mm-hmm. And as you start reading and reading more, you have these pyramids that are exactly aligned with the north, exactly within 1 degree, I believe, mm-hmm. which is better accurately than any satellite we have now.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So his theory, as much crazy as it sounds, was they did it with vibration and telepathically. And an example that mm-hmm. was great, if you put a vibrating razor on this table, mm-hmm. it will move. Mm-hmm. So just that alone mm-hmm. makes that theory and hypothesis possible. Mm-hmm. Because if the razor can move, then it wouldn't be impossible mm-hmm. by vibration to move a 70-ton brick or stone if you have 100,000 years of technology, or if they weren't a different type of technology, mm-hmm. telepathic, vibration, and so on. Mm-hmm. Now, if you can do that, Charlie, right? Tell me if you agree. If you're able to do that kind of shit with a bunch of mushrooms and some DMT, they did, then therefore it wouldn't be out of reason to believe that if they saw an asteroid coming, one of the ice ages, that they could get the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. And then you go back to Tesla. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was sealed for a long time. And then mm-hmm. the government yanked it. They took it up. They didn't want it out. Now it's unsealed. And when you look at it, he was making not only the electric engine, but an engine that recycled matter. So like right now, Elon, for example, we all know he's trying to get to Mars. I had Robert Beto in, who works with him a lot with that thing that goes back and forth, the CERN thing, I believe it's called. And the biggest problem is the matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you get through the matter? Yeah, we can get there in 10 days, but how do you get through the matter? Well, when you go back to the archaeologists with what they discovered with Tesla, that matter would be sucked in and reused as energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it would never need refueled,
mm-hmm.
and it would run on itself. So all that makes sense to me, which then goes along with what you're saying with the financial.
Mm-hmm.
It all
makes sense.
It all goes together.
That's one thing that's lovely about truth. It makes sense. And I was smiling because I had a very naughty thought that
what was the naughty thought?
You know, we were talking about vibration moving things. You can move a 200-pound woman with a vibrator.
Yeah, you can. So
exactly. So, and these sort of things are just humor, and humor will get us through this. But when it comes to compliance that is off planet, and you and I both know, because it's very clear talking to you in the short space of time I've got to know you, that you're spiritually connected, and that's very, very important on this journey. And with our lives the way that they are, God has a wonderful way of shutting doors for us, right in our faces. Even though we're pushing to go down a certain corridor, he'll stop us and he'll open other doors, because you and I are the sort of people that are receptive. And as much as we might be trying to push one way, inside us there's a little boy that goes, do you know what, we should do this. And that's, you can see it in somebody's eyes, you can feel it with people. And there's many times that I've learned that I've pushed down a certain line. And for your audience, 12 weeks ago, I gave up alcohol and smoking. Nobody ever saw that one coming.
But how hard was that? Or you just made your mind up and that was it?
God gave me a really bad chest infection that lasted for 4 weeks.
Ooh.
I mean, I was really, really poorly. I continued doing my work, but I was just poorly, so I couldn't drink, I couldn't smoke. And at the end of it, I thought, do you know what? This is the perfect time to give up smoking and drinking. And I just stopped. And then we went to a party at Nikki Beach down in Marbella, the red party, the closing party. And there was a glass of rosé wine that I accidentally picked up. And when I sipped it, it was like disgusting. And I was like, wow, even my body rejects it now. And for me, hopping on a plane, one thing I do like is when I have my meal is to have a bottle of wine with it. This trip, not even touched it.
Didn't even want it.
So when you connect to your spiritual side, whatever it is, and you know with the Italian side, they're very spiritual people, always have been. They're connected. When you connect to what's within you, right now, you'll need everything. You'll need all your spiritual connections. I liken it to a toolbox. That when you get your first toolbox, you only use your screwdriver and your hammer, that's it. Then you find out you've got a socket set and pliers and pinches and everything else in there that you didn't know you had. And that's where we're at right now. We've got a socket set, we've got a toolbox inside us. And one of the biggest tools that we've never used in our lives is hope. And hope is within us, and it's been dumbed out of us. And when you can reconnect to what's within us and get hope back, then everything else becomes possible, and you start seeing things. And when you start seeing things, it becomes exciting. Right now, I'm probably in the most exciting time of my life. I'm not living in fear. I'm not scared of anything. And there's a lot of people at the moment, it's interesting, who are panicking because, the midterms, they didn't go as I wanted. I disagree. I think they went exactly as I wanted, because this has to be exposed. They have to do it. They have to be seen to be doing it. It's like catching a child when he walks into a shop thinking he's going to steal. No, it's no good. You've got to catch them when they've stolen.
Red-handed.
You've got to catch them red-handed. You can't just go, you were going to steal the election. You were going to steal the midterms. No, people have to see this, to watch it happen, because all the states that are still counting all happen to be the big swing states that were going Republican.
What the hell is going on with Arizona?
I know.
I couldn't, it doesn't matter if you're blue or red.
No.
What the hell are they doing?
I know. This is crazy. Like with Carrie Lake was the other example that I was watching, because at close of business on the Tuesday night, she had 76% of the vote. And you know darn well that they're going to try and flip it because,
of course, they are.
They're trying everything they can, but they're being watched. It's again like the kid in the sweet shop who's stolen something, and the second time round, the shop owner is following the kid round.
Yeah, you got a little bit smarter this time.
Yeah, they're trying things. They're trying to hide it in their jacket. They're trying to do this, that, and the other. And of course, they're being watched from every angle because not only is the shopkeeper watching, but the store owner is watching on CCTV in the back office, and that's what's happening right now. And they're being exposed. And the trouble is they're so arrogant.
So arrogant that they're making it so obvious.
I know.
Florida got done, which is what, 3 times as big, more people? Maybe even 5 times. I forget the number.
Yeah.
Florida got done in that evening.
I know.
We were done that evening.
I know.
And it was tighter than we thought, but it was done that evening. How is Arizona?
Well, when you say...
we both know the answer, but it's just...
It wasn't as tight as you think it was. But they didn't flip enough votes to turn it around, which is what they had hoped. But and this is what happened. This is why Hillary Clinton in 2016, that's why she didn't come out. She was absolutely mortified because she paid fortunes for them to flip it for her. And they didn't flip enough votes. They didn't realise. And this is one thing I love. I flew into Chicago airport when I came out from the UK. And when I arrive in Chicago, I'm always a little bit cautious with Chicago, as we know it's Obama state. And as I'm walking down the line to Homeland Security, this man just looks at me, and he goes, "Nasara, Dr. Charlie Ward."
Oh, boy.
And I'm like,
uh-oh,
what's going to happen here?
Yeah, is this good or bad, right?
You just don't know. And he's looked at the queue behind me of 30 people, and he said, "Find another queue."
Oh, jeez.
And then he gets up, he gets out of his box and says, "Come with me." And I walk with him. I don't ask any questions. I just walk with him, and we walk through this room, a holding room, with 30 or 40 people that are waiting for processing. And then we walk into an office with this elderly lady sat behind her computer with her glasses on the end of her nose. And she's processing somebody in the office. Then she looks up and stands up and comes over and flings her arms around me. Said, "Come with me. Thank you for everything you're doing."
Wow. I bet you weren't expecting that one.
I wasn't. She said, 95% of my staff, Charlie, are with you. But they can't tell anyone. She said 40% or 50% are on the Insiders Club. But she said, we can't tell anyone. But thank you for everything you're doing. And then I had pictures of about 4 or 5 of them in her office. But that tells you we're being lied to. We believe that Chicago is all Obama's people. It's not. That's a lie. Most of those people there, and I'll tell you why, it's got nothing to do with Obama. It's got nothing to do with Biden. It's got nothing to do with Trump. It's got everything to do with what's in your pocket. That's why people vote. And when Trump was in office, people could afford to buy food and petrol, or gasoline as they call it here, and could afford to go on holiday, could afford to do things. Now I don't care who you like or don't like. People can't afford to heat their house, to drive their car, to feed their families. So they feel a bit stupid voting the way they did.
Well, I do think people are starting to see it. And I've been following it, and I'm with you. I already know everything is going to skyrocket. The only reason things went down was because of the midterms, so now everything is going to fly off the handle.
Yeah.
What really hit me, I think it was 2 days ago, Apple upped their family plan. It used to be $10.99 a month, maybe $14.99. Now I think it's $39.99.
Wow.
That much of a jump.
Wow.
Netflix went up.
Yeah.
So now the new generation, or what do they call them? The woke, whatever the hell that means. Yeah. I still don't know what that means.
No.
Do you?
No.
Okay. Well, the woke, I guess, now they're seeing it because they're watching Netflix. They want the Apple to do it, So when that kind of stuff starts to affect them, when the worst one ever, TikTok, starts charging you to sign up, and the rest of them, and Facebook is getting murdered because Zuckerberg just spent way too much money on that metaverse, and then like a moron, I don't know who his agent is, let him go on Rogan.
Yeah,
that guy's crazy.
I know.
To let him go on Joe Rogan for 4 hours, that he's just gonna get you all nice and cozy. Oh yeah, those glasses are great, and at the right time, he's gonna hit you with the Fed. You're off guard, spills the beans. Whoever is managing him is the dumbest manager in the planet.
I'll let you into a secret. Zuckerberg doesn't exist.
What do you mean he doesn't exist?
What you saw there is a computer-generated image or a clone or a double to wake people up.
With Joe Rogan?
No, not with Joe Rogan, with Zuckerberg.
Oh, but Zuckerberg was sitting there. You're just saying somebody else was running the show.
No, Zuckerberg was dealt with 2 years ago. So whoever's playing him, whether it's a clone, a body double, or a computer-generated image, I don't know. Rogan he would know best. I've met 3 clones on this tour.
Wow.
And do you know how I can tell what a clone is? They look exactly the same except their eyes. There is absolutely nothing in their eyes. They are soulless, and clones don't have a soul. But they look exactly the same. You can touch them, feel them, they look the same, but they have no soul. It's very unnerving when you're talking to somebody that has no soul.
You know when, and you've been around them as I have, you know when you were around those type of people that we were talking about earlier, you know when you went around some of the crazier ones, they have those eyes, where it's just darkness. There's nothing there.
Yeah, but some of them are crazy, dark. You can see that. You know who they are. But these are, there's nothing from...
It's just empty.
It's just empty. It's just soulless. The one thing with naughty boys, especially with Italian Mafia and Russian Mafia and Bulgarian Mafia and Romanian Mafia, all of those, the naughty boys you tend to find are saying their prayers.
Oh, yeah.
The only person they're scared of is their mum.
Yep.
But underneath all the facade, there's men inside there, but they grew up tough, without a shadow of a doubt. I know loads of them. And yeah, the only person they're scared of is their mum. Well, clones are different to that because they don't have a soul. They're created, and it's very interesting that Disney very openly put out. That they created a lot of these clones in the music world in their own studios. They put it out there publicly. A lot of these musicians like Cardi B, etc., are all created in the studio, all created in a Disney clone factory. I mean,
now, do you think like someone like Elon is aware of this? Like someone on that level, do you think they're aware?
The one thing with Elon is he's incredibly intelligent. Now, does that compute to common sense? I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. Does that compute? I would call maybe like street smart, common sense, right? You know?
Yeah. You tend to find with hyper-intelligent people, they're not very streetwise. You tend to find that. I don't know with Elon, and I can't really give an educated answer because I've never met him. And that's one thing, because all I know about Elon is what I've seen and heard from other people, whether it's television, whether it's YouTube or what have you. And I've watched him a few times on YouTube, and I can't make him out. I can't work out exactly who he is. He's a very, very clever...
Calculated.
He's a calculated genius. But when you sit down and talk face-to-face like we are today, you get a feel of somebody. Where when you see them on the screen, it comes across differently. And, of course, they also have the skill sets of editing.
Mm-hmm. I brought up Elon because... I think he's probably the only one, other than you being that you've been around it and in it, that could comprehend something like that fully. Like you could tell me that and I can understand how it's possible, but to comprehend it fully, I don't know. I can't think of anyone other than Elon, if not involved in it, who could comprehend something like that fully. I mean, I know there's other geniuses, but just the name that people would know.
Yeah. These are all things for me. These are the fun side of what I do. Because what we're doing is asking questions. I don't know all the answers at all. But we have around 27 million followers. So when I put stuff out there, I've got plenty of people that will provide information. Now, I don't read the comments, positive or negative, of any of them. We have a team of people who do. We've got a number of people in India that read and a number of people in the Philippines who read the comments. And if there's something in there they feel I should know, they'll tell Tara, my PA. And then if she feels it's worthwhile to tell me, then she'll tell me. But I found right at the start of this journey, the amount of positive comments affected my ego, and I didn't want that. And then when I had my first negative comment, I felt absolutely shocking. So I thought, well, we're going to stop that right away.
I turned them off.
Yeah, exactly.
Aaron Rodgers was scheduled to come in, the quarterback.
Yeah.
And everybody said, okay. And this was right after he had gotten a DUI.
Yeah.
It was scheduled maybe 3 weeks after that DUI, something happened. So something with him happened. Endorsement agent calls. Everybody agrees. But, whoever I had into it, because I don't read them either, because I'm like you. If I read something negative, then it will throw me off.
It does.
And whatever I'm doing now, to me, in my opinion, is working.
Yeah.
So I don't want to read a good or bad, because I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'll start you know how we are. We'll start micro-managing ourselves, and at least I'm talking for me. Mm-hmm. And from what you're saying, you too.
I'm the same. We're emotional beings.
Yeah.
Both you and I. We're emotional beings. And the one thing I've done is just put my faith and trust in God and let God lead me. It's like when I go on stage and talk, and like when I came here, I pray that God will just use me to deliver the message correctly, accurately, as best I can, and that I won't misinterpret. I won't say I don't care. I don't mind if people misinterpret me, because there'll always be people out there. If you've got 27 million followers, if 0.01%, that's 27,000 people that can misrepresent you, great. It happens. You just have to accept that, and you just have to put your faith and trust in God that He'll guide you to try and get the truth out as best as possible.
Turning that bullshit off saved me money and a headache, because I don't have to have a staff to go through them and delete the bad ones, because, like Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that. If there's a bunch of trolls on there, and let's say Aaron comes in and some douchebag girl says, he touched me.
Yep.
Now, boom. Now what? He's risking his endorsement. And it just could be just some idiot, troll, so when so I completely understood from an endorsement point of view, and you're getting 20% of those deals, you're not going to let him come in. No. And just like you'll see a lot of guys on that level that weren't going on Rogan before are now, no comments. Mm-hmm. Because anybody could say anything nowadays. And
well, some of these trolls aren't even real.
I know, they're robots.
They're digital trolls, they're robot trolls.
And they just shoot them, and they say this, say that.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I've had it. I've had all different stuff said about me.
You have.
And in fact, apparently, I think it was about 6 months ago, I was dead.
Oh, you were dead 6 months ago?
Yeah, I was dead. And the same person who said that I was dead said 3 months ago that I wasn't to be trusted. Well, I shouldn't be trusted if I'm dead, should I?
Well, I'm not on mushrooms, and I'm not on DMT or anything.
Exactly.
You're right here.
I am right here.
So I don't know. Unless you're a clone, I'm talking to the doc.
Well, you can see it in somebody's eyes.
Right.
And this is something that we lack anyway in life. You and I are of a certain age where you're younger than me, but even so, when you went dating, that twinkle in a girl's eye was so special across a bar. Nowadays, it's poking people on Facebook or whatever it's called. I can't remember which one it is now. You poke people or flipping left or right or what have you. Where's the fun in that?
Remember when we were kids, even though we're a little bit different in age, we would sit there and your buddy would go, "Come on, Charlie, go up to her."
Exactly.
And you would get the butterflies.
Oh, yeah.
And you look across the bar and you wait for her to look at you to see if maybe you got a little bit of a look.
Yeah.
And you go up to her and talk to her for a minute. Remember we used to do that? Now it's this social media bullshit. DM me or DM me.
Yeah, I know. Fuck. I talked to my son the other day about my girlfriends when I was his age. And we used to take them behind the bike sheds to kiss them.
Yeah.
And he's gone, "What's a bike shed?"
Oh, boy.
He had no idea that we take all our bikes to school, because they all go to school now in 4x4s. They don't ride to school. And they complain about the environment because they're going to school in these 4x4s. I mean, it's that generation. We had to ride to school in the pouring rain and have a bright orange poncho from our neck down to stop getting wet. We still got soaked from the wheels because we've taken our mudguards off because they look cooler. But these are things.
And what happened to riding your bike and throwing newspapers in the morning?
Exactly.
And after school.
Exactly.
Especially when mom was mad.
Yeah.
Your ass better be up throwing them papers.
Exactly right. Exactly
That's
right.
gone. I haven't seen anybody throw a paper in 20 years.
No, I know. Mind you, nobody wants a newspaper nowadays, and I don't blame them.
No, I just get the New York Post.
Yeah.
I've gotten it all my life. I like Page 6. Just the bullshit.
Yeah, no, I don't. I haven't been looking at mainstream media for 3 years now, television or media.
It's a good thing.
It's so much better. But the trouble is, I love my sport, and I can't even watch football or motor racing because of all the subliminal bullshit in there.
I'm so mad at the NFL with Cleveland. What are they now? The Cleveland team, Scott?
The baseball team?
No, football team. Cleveland.
No, well, the Cleveland Browns, but the baseball team is the Guardians.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Cleveland Guardians
the Indians.
And then the other one in
Washington.
Commanders.
They're the Commanders now.
What a shitty name.
As opposed to the Redskins.
Jeez. And it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And there's other ones too. And I bet those Indians wanted that.
Yeah.
It gave them pride. They were part of the NFL.
Yeah.
I highly doubt. For how many years have they been the Washington Redskins?
As long as I can remember. And I'm 62 years old.
And my grandpa loved them.
Exactly.
So, I think what you did was you took part of their heritage away within the U.S., and now guys like me and you, when we try to watch football, it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
I still have to watch for a little bit, see what Brady.
Yeah, I watch the soccer actually rather than your stuff. But
you guys. Yeah, both our countries, football's different.
It is, but it's the subliminal stuff. Taking the knee is still going on in the UK, and it's just like I wrote to the Football League in the UK and motorsports to tell them that Black Lives Matter had nothing to do with Black Lives and was actually a criminal organisation, and I would be pursuing them in the future, but I put them on notice, and they basically said, our research tells us different to what yours does. And I said, that's fine, no problem at all. All I've done is put you on notice. When the time comes that it comes out, I will be holding you accountable.
Wow. The way you're talking now, and, after having read your book, it's amazing how you are at this point now.
Mm-hmm.
You're born in England, right? Yep. At 4, you get pneumonia.
Yeah.
Your mom comes in, tries to take care of you. What you bring? One of your favorite
Lucozade. Yeah.
What was it?
Lucozade.
Yeah. And then you get through the pneumonia. And then you're raised in a religious cult, which is very interesting. Mm. And it was called what? The
Plymouth Brethren.
Yeah, I want you to say it, so I don't. Thank you very much.
That's
for
okay.
Not making me look like a complete idiot.
No.
When you're raised in that, the first thing I want to ask about, what was it with the fillings? They gave you fillings for no reason?
Well, what happened was, most people when I was a kid would go to a decent dentist. But because my parents believed that the end of the world was coming, that was sort of too expensive. So there was a school lorry, well, you call them an RV here, that was the mobile dentist that came to the school, but he was cheap. So whenever you went to him, rather than do anything, he'd just drill a hole and stick a load of crap in your mouth. And it was cheap. So as I grew up, as I got into sort of my teens and 20s, I had so many fillings around my mouth. It was ridiculous. And when I started questioning things, that was one of the things as to why did I have so many fillings? Why? What was wrong? I brushed my teeth every morning, every night. So why? Didn't make any sense. So all of these things now become more and more relevant. That I've now spent, what I did was quite a few years ago now, I had all of the fillings taken out. And I had them replaced with white fillings rather than the metal fillings. And while they were doing it, I had some chips on my tooth from when I was a kid when I chipped a tooth on a bottle. My bottom teeth were not particularly straight, so I had them straightened up and had things done.
We all love the dentist.
Exactly.
That's the favorite one, right?
Exactly. And it made me realize, first of all, I was getting it all done after the world had ended, according to the Plymouth Brethren, because they always said it was going to happen by the year 2000.
So is that what that cult believes?
Yeah, that's what it believed.
And what are the 3 what was it? The 3 steps of punishment. Like there was 3 types of punishment. Well, right? Growing up in that.
Yeah. First of all, you'd get a telling off, and the second one was being sent to your bedroom, and sort of for a period of time. But the one that, if depending on how naughty you were, you had to confess your sins to a priest. Now it felt not nice at the time. Because it felt very perverse that they wanted you to tell you why. Like we were looking at naughty magazines, and they wanted to know what we saw in the magazines and even at the time, you just go, why are you asking these questions? It didn't feel right, and this is where, when you're connected to what's within you, if you get told off for something you've done wrong. I've had the cane on my backside. I've been smacked across the knuckles. And those things, I've accepted those. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with castigation at all. None at all. If you've done something wrong. But the punishment should be appropriate. But standing there in front of it's almost like a pervert priest who's asking for details about what you saw in these pictures and what it was about it. And you just go...
Aren't you a priest?
Yeah, exactly,
right?
Exactly. It didn't sit well with me, even when I was a young child. And they also like to do it in the church so everyone could hear. And I think their theory was that you'd be embarrassed never to do it again. Well, that sort of putting down people in public, I disagree with 1,000,000%. I think if you've done something wrong, I actually don't believe you need to tell anybody. I think if you put it right with God yourself, God's the person that can forgive you, not them. They don't even need to know.
And if not, at least pull the person aside.
Yeah.
And talk, because they're going to, if you want them to change, they're going to be more comprehensible privately versus, 20, 30, however many people staring at them.
Public humiliation.
Yeah, public humiliation.
Yeah.
Make you go off yourself is what that does.
It does. It does. But what it did to me is now I look back in my life and I'm grateful for that because it made me understand why God has put me on this journey right now. I look at those bumps in the road and I realize that I was tested for a reason, so that now I can help other people through a difficult period of time right now. But there's been many things in my life that I'm now grateful for because they were the foundations of what we're going through right now.
If you could give me 1 or 2 stories, just for those watching who can, and I want to hear them too, obviously. When you're in that cult, from say age 6 to 16, what is it like? What's the beliefs? Are you homeschooled? Are you allowed to be in sports? Can you go to dinner? Like, what can you do? What can you not do? And what is the goal of the cult? What is the full belief of the cult, and so on?
The basic teachings of the cult is very similar to Baptist teaching, but it's very, very strict. You go to church every day.
Every day?
Every day. Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday morning. Sunday morning, there's 4 different church services to go to on a Sunday. So there's 4 on Sundays.
Was that your favorite day?
Not really. No.
Just joking. No, 4 in a day for a kid? Phew.
I know it was too much, but when it came to schooling, when I was in the religious cult, we went to normal school, but we had to come home at lunchtime because we were not allowed to eat with other children or drink.
I'm sorry, and what was the reasoning for that behind it?
There was some scripture in the Bible that you were not allowed to eat with those that
like public people.
Yeah. You didn't celebrate birthdays. You didn't celebrate Christmas, Easter, anything like that. And that was always difficult. And we weren't allowed to do sports competitively.
Wow.
In fact, my uncle, David Henry, he was a hurdler. And he came out a year before I was born because he wanted to go to the Olympics as a hurdler. And he came back with a gold medal.
Wow.
In Tokyo in the Olympics.
Unbelievable,
in the early 60s, yeah.
Wow.
But they wouldn't let him compete, so his father took him out of it. So they're not allowed to do that sort of thing. They're very clever in the fact that the community side, the fellowship side, is very good because they keep you tight knit in their big families, and then you all just mix with each other, not with other people. They're very supportive as a family unit. They look after each other well, financially, emotionally, everything. They're a strong unit. Also, they live in detached houses. They can't be attached to any other people. They have to be detached. They have to have their own water supply, their own electric supply, everything like that. They have to be completely independent. There's a lot of good things. They don't have a television because they regard it as a pipeline of filth into the house. Well, they were pretty accurate with that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, that one not too bad.
They got some things right, for sure. They didn't read newspapers. They didn't. A bit like the Amish, a cross between Baptist and Amish almost. They were very, very strict. They at school they said there was no point in the educational system at all. You needed to read and write and do the basics. You didn't need to concentrate particularly, because the end of the world was coming, and that was the. Yeah. And there's a part of that that's half right.
And I agree with them also that school, they don't even do wood shop anymore here. There's
Really?
no wood shop. There's no.
No, that's right.
Yeah, they took it out. There's no
metal work, no cooking, no nothing.
Nope, took it all.
I
out.
said that with Justin the other day because
Yeah.
we did a bit of homeschooling with him, and I said we're going to do some woodwork, metal work. And he said we don't do that at school. Cooking, you don't learn how to look after your house, how to do anything.
Nothing. They
Right.
took out wood shop, cooking.
Yeah.
I know when I was in, you would have it was like one class a week, like
Yep.
an extracurricular one, but you had to take one, and it taught you how to like write a check,
That's right.
things like that. That's gone because my other engineer, he's got 2 boys that are 11.
Mm-hmm.
And you should hear the shit that's going on in
Yeah.
schools here.
Yeah.
My name is Mr. Mark, but you're not Mr. Mark, but you're Mr. Mark. So his son had called him Mr. Mark because 6 months ago he was Mr. Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy gives him detention. So my other engineer, Rob, calls the school and goes, "Hey, buddy, look, you're Mr. Mark." It was like a whole thing back and forth, but that's just how crazy it is.
Yeah.
So with that, this episode is sponsored by Aurora. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is? For years, this crime rate has been surging and affecting millions of Americans. I'm talking about identity theft, and there's a new victim every 14 seconds. Yet despite this, those who have had their identity stolen are often shocked when it happens. That's why I'm excited to partner with Aurora, who is sponsoring this video. Aurora is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all into one easy-to-use app. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. Protect you and your family from America's fastest growing crime. Try Aurora for free for 2 weeks and see if you or anyone in your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial today. Go to aurora.com/MSCS. The link is in the description below. This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
They were right on that one.
Mm-hmm. Justin had a similar thing with his teacher, where I'm super proud of Justin. Super proud of him. He's an amazing young man.
Good for him.
He's turning 13, but he was in. We had a message from the headmaster to say to come into the school because he'd been back-chatting a teacher, which my wife was not happy about. So I said, before you decide that you're not happy, you should ask Justin what he back-chatted about. So we said to Justin, what did you back-chat about? What was it about? And he said, well, the teacher was saying that Washington was a state of the United States of America. And he said, I put him right. I told him it was a District of Columbia and it was autonomous. And he told me I didn't know what I was talking about. And Justin said, I suggest you do some research before we talk about this further.
How old is he?
He was 12. He's 12 at the time. And we got called in, and I said, well, can you tell me what part of that Justin was wrong? Well, you can't talk to a teacher like that. And I said, well, if the teacher is putting out wrong information, surely the student has the right to put it right. Or take the teacher out and put him back into teaching again, get him taught properly, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. So then he came back and he said, I've done some research, and he said, it says formally the District of Columbia in Wikipedia. And I said, oh, so do you get taught as a teacher from Wikipedia, do you?
Yeah, so we don't need to go to school.
Exactly right.
So you don't need to pay off any student loans.
Exactly. So I put him right on it, and I said, look, if Justin says something to you, there's a reason he said something to you, and if he's wrong, I'll tell him off, no problem at all, if he's wrong. But when he's right, you're the one that needs the telling off.
What do you say to that?
I said, you need to know what you're talking about before you start talking to Justin about stuff you don't know what you're talking about.
To the teacher?
Yeah.
What did he say back?
He just mumbled away at something, and he went off, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was done in front of the headmaster as well, who's a friend of mine. And afterwards, the headmaster said, go easy on him. I said, no. I'll make sure he knows that he doesn't mislead the children when he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Good for you.
So I'll always stand up for what I believe in now. And over the last 3 years, my bollocks have got a lot bigger that I'll stand up for a lot more now. I'll stand up against anybody.
I wish it was back in the old days. You know, you get in like minimum trouble, you send them home to dad or grandpa. Dad or grandpa gives them a little whooping. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen again. Mm-hmm. Now what do? Put them in a detention, give them an iPad, and go say sit over there. Mm-hmm. Do it again 1,000 more times.
Exactly right.
But he comes home to dad or grandpa who's not playing around. Just takes one time. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget when I was growing up.
No.
When my mom called my grandpa, who was huge, who was tall like you, I didn't get any of that height. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, shit. Oh, boy. Here we go. But you know what? That corrected me real quick.
Justin's mummy, my wife, she's just like that. I mean, she's tough. She's tough. And I always used to think she was too tough on Justin. But now I'm grateful, because where she was tough on him from 0 to 5, 10, we're seeing the rewards now, because he's a beautiful young lad that's polite, courteous, respectful, honest.
Turned him into a man.
Turned him into a young man.
Young man.
And like when I came away, he's 12 years old, and I always say to him, when I'm away, you're the man in the house, all right? You're responsible to look after.
Bet he loves that.
He does. You know the first thing he did?
That's great.
You know the first thing he did? He booked a table for 3 in a restaurant to take her there for dinner with mother-in-law.
At 12?
At 12.
Phew.
And he chose his own table. She had to pay, of course. But, but he's halfway there.
That's great. That is so great.
Yeah.
Now, in the cult, how do they, it's so interesting. How do they arrange a marriage? Are you, from the time you're born, do they have that woman picked out? When is that picked out? Is there a set number of kids you're supposed to have? Because you had 3 quick.
Yep.
How does that arranged marriage work?
It's very, very subtle and clever. So when I started dating, she at the time was the hottest girl that was available, because you can only marry within the cult. She was certainly hot, no problem at all with that.
I saw in your book you said about 7 times. The hot one there, the most beautiful one there. Yeah.
And then it's done very cleverly, where her father suggested that we should get married. We've been dating for a year or whatever it was, and they suggested we get married. And I was like, well, I'm too young, and I haven't got enough money. And it just sort of came back with, well, don't worry about that. We'll buy you a house. And I said, well, no, it's not just a house. I need a car. And they were like, no. And when you're 18 and somebody says, we're going to buy you a house, we're going to buy you a car, we're going to furnish the house, we're going to give you a job with a double salary.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. You're 18. You want to leave home. You're sick and tired of your parents. Oh, I can have my own house. Very cleverly done. So
And all I got to do is marry this girl that I'm already with anyway at this time, right? I get a house, car, some income. Sign me up, right?
When we talked earlier about the Chinese and how they lend you money interest-free, that's why God put me through this on my journey, so I understand it.
Interesting.
So they get you in, they attract you in, beautiful, 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 have this, have this, have this. And then suddenly you have the house and you're a young couple without a television. So you got 3 children in 3 years. No telly.
With no television?
No telly.
Man, I'm having earplugs in.
Exactly.
I got to work. I got to work, honey. I'll be back.
Exactly. So it's very cleverly done. And then at the age of 23 with 3 kids, I was starting to ask questions. And I had my own building business there because I'd moved away from my father-in-law's business at the bedding centre, which he gave me. He helped me set up the business. He provided everything I needed. And we had this Indian restaurant. You've probably read about it, but he was a lovely guy. He used to phone me up on a Saturday night, and he'd blown up his cooker again. And he was just a really good lad, a proper good lad. And I loved going there. I loved to help him out because he's just like, I don't know what's happened again, Charlie. He's just blown up again. And all he was a good, honest, hard-working Indian who was trying to cook far too much on a little cooker. And it was flat out, and it was boom, another thermostat would go boom. So you change the thermostat, say, look, just calm down. Yeah, but I've got people, and the people loved him. And it was Saturday night when he was busy, and I'd go and repair it all, and of course I'm not allowed to eat with anybody. But because it was like 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday night, we got church at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning, I was thinking nobody's going to see me.
So even when you're married and you're 21, 22, you can't go have dinner with other people.
No.
What'd you guys do for a honeymoon, or there was no honeymoon?
We went to stay with another family in the religion.
Oh boy, some honeymoon, huh?
In Leeds.
Some honeymoon, right?
Exactly.
Sounds like a blast.
Exactly. But this was all part of the journey.
And now through this, your mom was getting shock therapy in the 60s or 70s?
Oh, back in the late 60s, early 70s, my mother...
And could you explain what shock therapy is?
Yeah, my mother, they always thought she had a mental illness. The truth is, when I look at it now, she was trying to get out of the religious cult. And nobody was helping her. She was in a place that she couldn't get out of. And I know that because I got out. So I know what she was going through. And because she was trying, and she hit the bottle, she was drinking whiskey like it was going out of fashion. And she was in and out of hospital with
blame her?
No, exactly, with mental illnesses.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to escape the Matrix or the Plymouth Brethren or whatever. And then the religion decided that because she had these problems in her head, they thought, that what they do is they put these electro things in their head to clear the memory in the hopes that they could reconstruct her memory.
And they're actually electrocuting her, right?
Yeah, they are.
Wow.
Yeah. And they used to do this in the 60s and 70s. They'd electrocute you to clear your mind.
Now, when your mom would come home after being electrocuted, let's just say it the way it is.
She got no idea who we were.
I was going to say, did she know what planet she was on?
No, but on the good side, if we'd been naughty, she'd forgotten all about it. So I had a positive.
Hey, Mom, when are you going back?
Exactly. So, yes, it was not nice. And we were looked after by young girls a lot of the time. When my father had young girls around there that were helping in the house because my father was a hard-working, very honourable man, honest man.
Shoeman, right?
Yeah, I'm in the shoe trade.
And you never even hear of Shoeman anymore.
No. He was a good man. I still believe, he's in his mid-80s now, 86 I think he is now. 86 or 87.
What'd he eat that he made it this long?
My grandfather lasted until the late 90s.
Oh.
It's in the DNA. All in all, he was a good man. But he just didn't have the strength of character to come out. He just went with it all the time. So that that's his own choice. I made my choice. But it was, those sort of things were fairly difficult as a child, growing up with different women around the house. In fact, one of the women who looked after us had the same name as my mum, Joan. And when my mum passed,
sorry to hear that. Yeah,
he married the other Joan.
Jeez.
And I teased him even at the time. I said, on the bright side, if you wake up in the night, you'll never mess her name up, will you? So, yeah. But she looked after us as kids. I didn't know. In fact, I didn't even know when my mum died. They didn't tell me.
That's sick.
I found out through my second son. He phoned me up. He said, "I think you'll find your mum died 6 months ago. I've heard from somebody."
Ugh.
And I phoned up my dad, and he's going, "Oh yeah, we tried to reach you." And I went, "You got my number?"
How'd you try to reach me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He probably told a pigeon. But no. And that particular day, it was quite interesting because the moment I was told, I just burst into tears. And it was, I don't know if it was sadness or relief. It was one, if not both. But the penny drop that my mother had gone, I'm now sort of waiting for my dad to go because of the fact that that's sort of the last part that I feel sorry for him because of the fact that he's been brainwashed, indoctrinated, whatever. But I have prayed many, many times that God will save him because he's a good person. And as with everything, there's good people and bad in everything. There's some bad people in there, none more so than the leader of that cult right now, who's called Bruce Hales, who is about to be done in court for taking nearly $1 billion for making sure that his tribe got vaccinated, all of them. So he pumped it out in his ministry that everyone needs to get vaccinated.
$1 billion.
He took $1 billion. And they're all trying to hide that. But the one thing is, I don't need to pump it out there because God will make that clear to them. They don't watch television, they don't watch the news, but it's happened before in there where they've had corrupt leaders who've done things that were not right. Back in the 60s, James Taylor Jr. was caught in bed in Aberdeen. Was it in the 50s or 60s? Caught in bed with one of my mum's best friends, Madeline Kerr. He was caught in bed with her, and she was just comforting him, apparently. Comforting him with no clothes on.
Is that so?
Do. Exactly. People like you and I just look at each other and go, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so you're going to tell me that they were just comforting naked in bed.
Yeah.
In bed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like the news.
Exactly. I don't think neuro massage it was invented in those days.
I don't think so.
Exactly.
So then you get married.
Mm-hmm.
You have, three kids, right?
Yeah.
Then you say, I've had enough of this cult thing. You leave.
Mm-hmm.
Wife won't leave.
Mm-hmm.
Then she keeps the kids from you.
Well, it's not a question of won't leave. It was on a Sunday morning, having been out with the Indians and having a meal and going to the nightclub and all the rest of it, pissed.
Good job supporting the Indians, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
They already got the Redskins taken from them.
Exactly. So they were just good guys. And they turned up at my house and said, "You got to come to church." And I've gone, "I've had enough of it. I am not coming back." So they came back after the morning service between 6 and 7. They came back at 7 o'clock and they said to my wife, "Pack your things and the kids, come. We're taking you away from him." And for the next 5 years, they took my wife and kids away, and I could only have controlled visits.
What's a controlled visit mean?
When they come, they're with you when you're having your children, so they watch what you say to them.
So you have no time just by yourself with your own kids?
No.
Huh. Who makes that rule?
They do.
Ah.
That was a tough time. But also I was 23 years old and I was not grown up at all. I was not a man, I was a boy. I look back and I wasn't a good example of a boy even then. And I think one of the most important things in life is to be honest with yourself as to what you were. I wasn't a good father. And because I hadn't grown up and I didn't know what I was doing, I was lost. And as I came out of the cult, it took me 2.5 years to find out my feet, and I landed up in prison twice.
Is that when you were talking to the guy, I forget his name, and it was about the marijuana plant?
Oh, no, that was later on.
That was later?
Yeah, that was funny. That was Toby Newth, the governor in Exeter Prison.
We got to get to that, because that's funny, and that's also in the book.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to pull up, yeah.
Yeah, so Yeah, I went to prison twice. First time I went to prison for not paying maintenance to my wife. I was the first man in the UK to ever go to prison for that. But there was three female magistrates, and my lawyer just said, "You might as well kiss your ass goodbye. You're done.
You're done."
And I went to prison. That wasn't nice. And then when I was in there, I met some dodgy boys who taught me a few naughty things and did a few naughty things and got caught again. Because I had no moral compass and I had no direction, no nothing. I didn't know the difference between right and wrong at that stage, and it took me another 7.5 years to get my feet on the ground. And it was a very lonely time because I had no friends. I didn't know who to trust. At the start, in the first 2.5 years, I picked all the wrong people.
What's UK prison like? What was prison like in the UK?
Not nice. You're locked up for 23 hours a day in a cell that's sort of...
Just for not paying?
Yeah.
They actually, it's 23 and 1?
Yeah.
That's what they always say, 23 and 1.
Yeah,
23 and 1 for not making a payment.
Yeah.
Phew.
And I was in there for
solitary confinement.
No, because I was in with 2 other guys in a tiny little room.
Oh, okay.
That was smaller than this.
Okay, so only one person can get up at a time for 23 hours of the day.
No, well, you lay on your bed all day in there. You lay on your bed, I read books and one thing and another, and you can walk up and down your cell, which is 8 foot long, 6 foot wide, or so 3 meters by 2 meters.
Sounds like a blast.
Oh, yeah, not much fun. I was in with a guy called Malky Mullen, who was famous for stealing cars and robbing churches. I mean, he wasn't nice. There was another guy that wasn't particularly nice in there either, but...
Bet the food was good. Filet mignon, lobster?
Yeah, exactly. No, not really.
Slop.
It was awful. But then the governor of the prison realised that I shouldn't really be there. So within a short period of time, put me in the kitchen, which allowed me I was unlocked early in the morning, locked up late at night. And I could cook my own food like they all do in the kitchens, and you get reasonable food. You don't get good food, reasonable food. So
edible.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you get through all that, and then how do you end up, you end up traveling to Spain, right?
Yeah, after a period of time in the UK, I was working in the timeshare business in the UK, and I tried to get back. I got my wife out of the religion with the kids, and we realised that we didn't really have an awful lot in common, and that was quite sad, really. And a lot of this happens in life to so many people, that when you split up with somebody, all your mates want to have a go on your missus. And as much as you don't want to be with her, the last thing you want to see is your mates having a go.
Same here in the U.S., buddy.
Exactly. So the logical conclusion for me was when I had the opportunity to move to Spain, to get away. Now, there's people out there who go, "You ran away." Honestly, I did. I ran away. I'm not ashamed of it. I ran away because I didn't want to see it.
I would have too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see it either. I would have got the hell out of it and away from all of it.
And it was a help. It helped me to sort of restart my life again.
Cleared your mind, right?
Cleared your mind. I went through a naughty phase of being out every single night with different women and everything else, and I don't regret any of it, because this was all part of the process that's brought me to where I am today.
Can you pull up tab 2? In your book, you say there's a part maybe midway through how cocky you were, that you were very cocky, and I'm thinking this guy was just in a cult, spends half his spends 10 years trying to get his head back together, trying to see his kids, and here this guy's going out cocky as can be. Where'd you get the cockiness from?
I'd always been put down as a child. My father used to make me stand in front of a mirror and say, "Oh, wretched man that I am," and put me down, put me down, put me down. Then I suddenly realised I was feeling depressed and everything else, and I thought, there's nobody out there that's going to pick you up other than you.
You couldn't have said it better.
And then I realised that I started telling myself that I was better than I was.
You know what, Dr. Ward? Say that again so people can hear it.
I started telling myself I was better than I actually was.
It's good stuff.
And I started making up stories that I was actually a lot better than I really was. And that helped me get out of this negative mindset. Telling myself that I was better, and by default telling other people that I was bigger and better than I was.
And I bet then you had to work. Then you had to figure out things, because now all these people
I had to live up to it.
You had to live up to it.
Exactly right. When if you're going to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. And that was a great period in my life when I was suddenly telling people how good I was. Now I actually had to perform. And I tell you what, there's nobody out there that has the ability to talk themselves up that doesn't also have the ability to actually do it. When you realize that, I mean, it lifts you out some dark places. Because then you start going, well, I can do this. And then somebody goes, show me. Oh, shit, I've got to perform. But when you put your mind to it, you do. And that's what I did. I started, as I say in my life, fake it until you make it.
Yep, 100%.
And you talk yourself up, and then suddenly you start to believe it, and other people start to believe it. And the first time you actually talk about doing something and do it, the satisfaction when you never even thought you could is incredible. And that's how you build your self-confidence.
I've said this ad nausea, but when I was younger, I wanted this Lamborghini Gallardo. They stopped making them. They're idiots. And I would go, and I didn't have the money to get it, but for months, once a month, I would go in. And this Italian guy did. He'd go, are you ever going to buy anything? Yeah, I'm going to. And I would constantly go, constantly see it. I had the poster on my wall.
Yeah.
5 years later, I finally went into that same dealership that I drove the guy nuts. When you say, I don't even know if he's still there. And I got that because I had told everybody, I'm getting it. I swear to God, really did.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when are you getting that? And people are like, oh, he'll never get that. And then, like you said, once you achieve it, no matter how you do it, now you realize that if you put your mind to something, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Unless you're a complete idiot.
Well, interesting you picked this the Lamborghini Gallardo because that was the car that my son was killed in.
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but
no, but this is all about frequencies coming together.
Yeah,
these things happen for a reason. I have a lovely saying that I'm sure you'll adopt over time. That there's only one time it's ever acceptable to come second, and that's in bed. Then you become a hero.
Then you're a hero.
Exactly.
Isn't that the truth?
Isn't that just the truth?
If you put yourself second, you have her forever. I don't care what anybody says.
Exactly.
So what made you write this book? Because you tell a lot of stuff in here, Charlie. A lot. I mean, you're very open. A lot.
Well, I was offered $1 million 10, 12 years ago to write my life story when I was moving money.
Okay, well, that might make me do it too.
Yeah, and I said no. Because at the time when I was moving money, it was a very private world. I couldn't talk about.
You do not want to do that then, as we both know.
And then when I started doing the videos, the Zoom conversations, I had a gentleman come along to me called Mark Atwood. And he said to me, I would love to do an autobiography. You need to do one. And I went, you know what? We could do that. And then I said, well, I wouldn't even know where to start. So he said, I've got a ghostwriter that would love to do it. I said, okay, let's talk. So what I did was he gave me a construct of 25 subtitles and then 20 subtitles of those through the different phases of my life. And then I did 20 Zoom conversations with this lady discussing each part of that. And she said, I'll construct the book that way. And I said, fine. And that's what we did. And we put it out there. And even when my second son decided to do videos telling the world that I was shocking and I was this and I was that and I was the other, I said, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. But if you want to hear my opinion, it's in my book. And I've put the good, the bad, and the ugly in there so that people really know who Charlie Ward is. I'm not perfect by any sense of the imagination. My journey has been bumpy. And I've become who I am today because of what I went through in my life, as we all have.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to look at people and go, I want to be Tommy.
Right.
But they don't know what Tommy went through to get to where he is today.
Yep. Right here it is, and we'll have this in the description. You can download it, everything. I read it last night. It's an easy read, too. That's the thing. It's a very easy read. It's easy to get through. And I like how a lot of the parts that catch your attention, they're highlighted. So when you go through it, you're reading it, but some of the really interesting parts are kind of blocked out. They grab your attention, and then you keep reading and reading and reading. And I'm not really I'm more of a listener.
Yeah.
But with this one, I went through the PDF, I knew you were coming in. So for me, it's better for me to see it on paper so I can remember it better. And it was really well done, really well outlined.
Thank you.
I want to tell you that I
wanted people to know who I was. On this journey, when you're out there, especially when you're... This journey is what I call a truth journey, a journey of truth. And the reason I can speak about truth is because I lived in a world of bullshit and lies. So I know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. And the truth stands out. It's so different from the world of lies. And what we're going through right now, the liars in the world, the mainstream media, the deep state, the cabal, whatever, they're lying. And you can see they're desperate. And the people who are telling the truth are very calm. They're very happy. Because the truth always shines through them. We know that in life. The truth always shines through.
Sooner or later.
Yeah. And when we get attacked by these trolls or what have you, you just know that that's coming from the deep state and the cabal trying to discredit us. But I've got time. I've got all the time in the world. And the truth will shine through in the end.
I would say when the trolls are attacking, that just shows you that you're making progress. Because if they weren't, then you wouldn't have any trolls.
Exactly. And... I've treated the trolls like foreplay. They inspire me. They make me smile.
Good for you.
Yeah.
They are funny sometimes.
They are.
Before I turned all that shit off, I was just like, what? This has nothing to do with the fucking video. Like,
I know.
What do you, like, they're having their own conversation in the comments about, I don't know, somebody's hair or something crazy. It's
to throw you off.
It's to throw you off.
Yeah. It just doesn't.
So tell me more about Spain. I'm interested in Spain. So you get to Spain, you get away from all of that. Where does life take you in Spain?
Well, we were working in the timeshare and hotel business, which I loved. I loved the hospitality business and everything that went with it. And I worked out very quickly that the harder I worked, the more money I earned. And it wasn't just the work. I had little sidelines going. It's just part of being an entrepreneur that you have certain sidelines. I used to change people's currency as they came in to stay on holiday. And so I put my main income into my savings account. And then the money I made on changing currency, that was my beer money. That's what I lived off.
Now, if you compare life in Spain to life in the UK, not the cult, just in general, what's the differences?
Well, the difference is where I lived in Marbella, it's a holiday resort. The sun shines 300 days a year.
Oh, shit, you've never seen, huh?
And there was a different array of women every single day, not every single week or every single month, every single day. And it was entertaining. It was a great place to live when you're 23, 24 years old.
And coming out of that
cult. Coming out of a cult.
Yeah, that's the home run, buddy, right?
Well, you have to remember that my first night of sex in my life was my first night of married life. So I got married a virgin. So suddenly now at 23 years old, I'm broken up. I've only ever slept with one woman. And it's like a kid in a sweet shop. You didn't realise there were so many sweets, and they came in all different shapes and sizes and colours. So it was fun for me, and it helped me deal with the issues of life. And there's a lot of women out there that will go, well, that's just totally irresponsible. And you're absolutely right. I was totally 100% irresponsible. But that's easy to say. An ounce of foresight is worth a ton of hindsight. I was irresponsible. I was childish. But I was dealing with issues. And as women will say, well, that's no excuse. For me, it was an excuse. Was I right? Was I wrong? I was wrong. I openly admit that. But I wouldn't have got where I am today without it. And I had to learn. I had to grow up. I had to, as they don't like us saying, I had to man up.
Man up, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Tell the story about your first girlfriend after this cult, marriage, the whole thing. I was laughing at that. I was laughing my ass off.
I'm trying to remember which one that one was now. I had a few girlfriends. The first.
You had got out.
And
Rachel.
Yeah.
And your buddy was pushing you. You didn't. There was your first girlfriend. You really didn't know what to say.
There was when I was at school. I had a girlfriend which I just sort of kissed and cycled around. But there was one girl, and I can't even remember if I put her name in the book. But there was one particular girl. This was when I came out of prison. That was a bit later on. So I'm trying to think about when I went to Spain. They were just sort of one night stand girlfriends. I'm trying to think of your story that you're talking about. Whether it was the girl that I had an affair with, then met her father.
It was really good. I thought it was Rachel, but it was. You had said to your friend, this is my first time. Like basically, you were saying, "What do I do? How do I approach?"
Yeah.
It was just funny because, here you are, 25, 30.
Oh, no, that was at school. That was Janet.
Okay.
That was Janet.
There was a few names in there.
Janet. Yeah, Janet was at school. Janet Driver.
Well, he even knows her last name, Scott.
Yeah. No, I'll never forget. She was my first ever proper girlfriend at school, and she asked me out. She said, "Do you want to go out with me?"
What did you say?
And I said, "Where to?" She said, "No, I want to go out with you." I've gone, "Yeah, I'll go out with you, but where?" I just had no idea what she was talking about. That was at school when I moved from being picked on at school to suddenly becoming somebody that the girls liked for some reason. Probably because I broke into the headmaster's office. I became a hero.
Maybe I have a sixth sense of humor. I thought that was funny that she asked you out, you go out where?
Exactly.
Instead of like she's asking you out to go on a date.
Go on a date, yeah. But
and at 30, you don't even know. Or whatever age.
Yeah, that was at school age. That
school
was
age,
15, I think it was. No, that's okay. That was at school age.
A lot of shit in that book.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that book. There was a lot of things that I didn't understand that I had to learn. And I'm still learning today at 62 years old. You learn I learn something new every day. And if you don't learn something new, then you're not challenging yourself in the right sense every day. I learn from Justin, and I learn from older people. You can learn from everybody. But if you go out there and think you know it all, you're missing out.
And we can see that right now with
Yeah.
Just about every industry that there is. They have, you know, a lot. They don't want to change whatever writings that there were. They don't want the backlash from the people that wrote it, even though they know it's wrong and technology has changed. Or who you like, you know, politically. I don't know why it's got to be such a red-blue thing. Why can't we all just, well, we know that they're trying to divide everything, but it should be where you just sit down and talk. If you're blue, I'm red, I'm blue, you're red, who cares? Why not just discuss it and solve shit? Solve shit.
Well, they can't. They don't have the ability to communicate.
Morons.
And it is because, like, I'm quite happy to talk to people who have a different view to me. I have no problem with that.
You want that.
I want that. But they don't. I've found out recently that...
How do you progress? How do you progress without discussion?
It's impossible because people say, well, I'm not going to talk to you. And I've had the same with my own daughter, where she disagrees with what I say. But I said, look, we'll have to get to a stage where we agree to disagree and we won't talk about it. It's like I had a difficult situation the other day with my second son, who did the YouTube videos telling the world that I was this, that, and the other, did 3 videos, and he got paid by MI6 to do them to discredit me. We know that.
Paid him to do it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then suddenly I find out the other day, my daughter said, you know that Glenn's been in hospital with myocarditis. And I went, oh, don't tell me you had the vaccination. She went, Dad, don't go there. I said, I'm just asking the question. You know what I talk about? I've done a lot of research. Dad, I'm not going to talk about it. So I've had to leave it. It's one of those very difficult situations, and it's not nice as a father. Even though my son's gone and told the world this, that, and the other, he's still my son. I still love him. Yeah. I just don't like what he's done. And then when you suddenly find he's in hospital, he's not been well with heart problems and myocarditis. It's like, and his attitude is, don't tell Dad. Well, you can do that for so long. It's not a nice place to be, but I've learned that to be pragmatic about it, and just, you know, I've done everything I can. I'm there for him. If he doesn't want me, he doesn't want me. I can't force myself on him. He's 40 years old. It's not a kid. So I have to live with that.
But you're not shutting your phone off.
No.
You're not blocking him.
No.
You're not, throwing him out the window because he's not up to your standards this day.
No.
He doesn't want to talk to you. Okay, but the phone's open, and then it's up to him.
Well, on a positive note, he's gone into the industry of porn, doing porn videos. So he stopped me watching it because that's the last thing I want to see.
Well, you're getting fixed left and right.
Exactly,
You stop smoking, you stop drinking, you stop
exactly.
porn.
God works in a really mysterious
You got
way.
the dominoes going your way, buddy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all good.
So then you're also, in Thailand, right?
Yeah.
How was Thailand?
Well, Thailand and Singapore.
Thailand interests me a lot.
Yeah.
And Singapore.
Well, when I retired from mainstream work in 22 years ago now,
because you got tired of the hotel thing, and you were actually part owner of one, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. It's amazing. A man who comes from something like this ends up traveling to Spain, ends up being in the hotel business, then ends up being partners owning the hotel business, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg. So, congratulations. That's not everybody could do that after what you had been through.
Well, when my work came to an end, I decided to come to an end. I then was happy. I played golf for about a week, and I was bored.
So Scott Stay loves golf. After he retired, golf.
Yeah, after
Exactly.
That's it.
I love it.
What else are you gonna do?
So yeah, I love it. And then suddenly I got a phone call from a friend of mine, first of all, in Singapore, who was a competitor of mine, and he said, "Charlie, I hear you've retired." And I was like, "Yep." He said, "Why don't you come over and train my people what you know?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that. But make me an offer. Make me an offer that I think is sensible." So he came up with an offer which I thought was reasonable, and he flew me out to Singapore, and I spent time out there training his people the way that I would train people. It was fascinating for me because they're completely different to the Western way of buying and selling things. And the Indians are different from the Chinese. They're different from the Malays.
Break down Singapore for me. I read a lot about Singapore. I want to know what it's like being there, how they run things, how they really operate, not what I've read.
It's the cleanest city in the world.
Okay, that's accurate what I read.
It's the safest city in the world.
Read that too.
But it's boring.
Boring as sin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. Yeah, they watch everything that you do, and when you live there and you know that, you go along with that. It's a lovely place to live, but it's constrained, and you get most of the police don't wear uniform; they're in plain clothes, watching everything that's going on. It is a police state, but if you want safety for your family, no better place to live. Gets very, very hot in the season because it's a tropical rainforest.
They're pretty lax on drugs, aren't they?
There's no drugs there at all.
No, I don't. No,
None at all.
I thought for some reason it was similar to Portugal.
No.
No.
There carries a death penalty.
Shit, like the Philippines.
Yep.
My buddy works for me with the website marketing and everything else. He's for the last 17 years I've been with him, and I had asked him one time what's the marijuana law over there. He goes, "Oh, they'll hang you.
Oh yeah.
You're dead."
Oh yeah.
I said, "For marijuana?"
Yep.
But he's like, "But yeah, you can go into the pharmacy and buy any steroid you want, Viagra, whatever.
Exactly.
But if you have marijuana, forget it. Done."
And if we go on to that subject, 'cause I've done so much research on it, big pharmaceuticals have been behind because marijuana is one of the easiest cures for cancer. So they don't want it out there. That's why they've put pressure on governments worldwide to ban it and go heavy on it, because that will destroy their cancer business. That's a multi-billion-dollar business.
That's who's paying for all these TV shows, the newspapers, you name it.
Well, there's a law that if you find a cure for cancer, you should be killed. It comes with a mandatory death sentence for finding a cure for cancer.
That just shows you how much power they have.
They have so much power.
All that money.
Yep. So, yeah, Singapore's a lovely place. I got to know a lot of good people there. I enjoyed my time there, and then I went from Singapore. Another guy phoned me up and said, I hear you're in Singapore. Why don't you come to Thailand and help me with my team? because I've always trained people and done motivational speaking on how to be successful and how to be the best that you can be. I've done that for a number of years and helped people in how to be successful in sales, how to be successful in life. So I enjoyed it over in Phuket as well, an amazing country, amazing people. We lost 36 staff in the tsunami. That was tough. That was at the time I was there. But interesting how resilient they are as people. They're good people because they have the Buddhist mentality. It's an ideology rather than a religion, but they're just good people. They're just good people. And I love the Thai people. They're always happy. It's a land of smiles, a bit like Vietnam. Amazing countries.
Why do you think they're always happy?
They're grateful for what they have.
They appreciate things.
They appreciate things. They appreciate the simple things in life. They're not. They're getting more complex, which makes it more difficult. But they're very simple folk that are happy with simple things, and that's where happiness comes from. You know, I remember for years when I had nothing, I wanted everything, and now I have everything, I want nothing.
That's how it works.
It's exactly funny how it works. And you know, there's an old saying when you buy boats: there's 2 good days you have a boat: the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Yeah.
That's the same with planes, the same with supercars. I've done those as well.
I had a boat 20 years ago. Oh, my God. And the second you buy that, the second you're repairing it.
Oh, exactly. There's always something.
Never again.
And then after a lovely day out, you got to wash it all down, get the salt off and all that stuff and clean the deck.
And of course, as an idiot at 22 or 23, however old I was, I didn't. I just had some guy come dock it because I had girls with me, and I'm not cleaning it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you know, you go back and have a long night. The last thing you want to do in the morning is go clean that. And then about 2 weeks later, when you take it out again, another bill.
Yep.
Sound familiar?
Yes, it does. And then you go and fill it up with fuel, and it costs you like 2,000 euros to fill it up with fuel, and somebody offers you $20 for the day, and you're like, you really don't get this, do you?
Yeah. And then how about the docking fee?
Oh, yeah. The mooring fees are like,
Jeez. Never ends with that.
No.
Thing. Just rent one.
Exactly.
Don't ever buy one, just rent one.
Well, we have a saying in England about the 3 Fs. I don't know if you have it. If it flies, floats, or fucks, rent it.
Now, that's a fucking good saying. That is good. I'm keeping that one, buddy.
Exactly.
I'm taking that one from you.
Yeah.
That's great. So you're doing that. You're making these people better with what you've learned about your experiences. Then you've had enough of all that. Now, how in the world does that turn into moving money for governments? Well, that's quite
it's a shift.
How does that how does the call happen? Can you take me through A to Z how that happened?
Well, when I was changing money for people who were on holiday, even in those days, because I was changing money, we used to have a bank called Bank of Credit and Commerce in Gibraltar. It turns out that they were a front for a drug running company. Turns out. We didn't know that at the time. But they gave us a good exchange rate, and they didn't care about money in the bank or what have you. And a gentleman came to me probably in the 90s, in the mid-90s, and I think the first decent job that I did was he had 150,000 equivalent in pesetas.
What is that?
Pesetas was the Spanish currency, but about $150,000 worth of pesetas. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but he wanted to buy a house. And I said, look, Mr. Zach, who's the manager at the bank, if you give it to me, I'll take 10%. I'll share it with him. We'll get it in the system. We'll send the money to your bank, and it's all done. And we used to charge 10% for everything we did. So that was the first one, and then you do that for him on his house, and then there was a few other guys come with their cash for their houses, because everyone had cash in those days in southern Spain. And because we didn't ask questions, the bank didn't ask questions, it was fine. And then it just sort of grew and grew, and then, you know, there was like 1 million. Oh, there was people saying, I've got 1 million euros or what have you. I need to get it into the bank, or can you get it to this place or that place or what have you. And we used to work with a group of guys called Hawala, which is Indian guys that you give them cash in one country and you get it in the afternoon in another country in whatever currency. So we did that for a bit, and then suddenly the numbers started getting bigger. And then one day I got asked to move a large amount out of Africa. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And at the time, I was a resident in Dubai. And I spoke to the guys who owned the bank, and I said, look, I've got somebody here that wants to put in $1 million or 5 million or 10 million. I can't remember what it was now. But it was a few million. And he said, yeah, no problem at all, Charlie, but I want 10%. I said, you can't have 10% because I only get 10%. You tell me how much of that 10% I'm worth and how much you're worth. I'm not greedy. And I think we agreed on the first one that I had 2 or 3% and he had the rest.
Sure.
So that was okay.
Yeah.
And then we started doing that. And then the same guy came back to me and said, I've got a load more here. He said, I've got a box here with 25 million in. Can you take that? I said, yeah, I can do that. And it just sort of grew from there. And then it just grew and grew and grew.
Networking. They hear you do a good job. One person tells another person real quick when they find somebody that can do a job well like that.
And also, there's not much competition.
Yeah.
There's not many people out there offering my service.
Right.
So you don't have any competition. And I've always been the person that I treat every human being as a normal person. And when I talk to banks, I don't blow smoke up their arse. And I say, look, this is what I have. And I'm going to be given it. It'll be in my name. I'll have a document that says it's in my name. I'll clear it through customs. I'll declare it through customs. They've gone, if you're declaring it through customs, we don't have a problem. They said, as long as you keep the customs document when it comes into Dubai. I said, of course. So when I come into Dubai, I register it with customs. I became really good friends with the head of customs. He said, Charlie, just do me a favour. When you're coming in on a private jet, just let me know the number, how much is coming in, so I can get everything ready for you. So he'd have all the documentation ready. He'd come and check it because he was getting paid. So some went to the customs, some went to the bank, some went to me. And then it just got more and more. I became really good friends with the head of customs. We used to go out for dinner on a regular basis.
Can't beat that.
No. And as long as the bank weren't asking questions, I'm just Charlie. As my book says, I'm just Charlie.
I know.
Why? I don't need to know. If customs don't need to know and the bank doesn't need to know,
what the hell do you need to
why
know
do
for?
I need to know?
They're just doing
the less I know, the better.
Exactly.
Well, it turns out that all of this money that I was moving was actually government money, US government money. And I was moving it around different places in the world to back up the new system, which I had no idea. But then they came along, as I showed you earlier, and they set me up to see if I'd move dirty money. And obviously God was working inside me at that stage, because there's one half of me that would have done it. But there's something didn't feel right on that day, and that was God working. Because it weren't Charlie Ward. Because Charlie he makes his money, and 1.8 billion is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Even if you only get 1%, it's still a nice...
Yeah, you're walking away from a pile, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw the Red Cross at first, and you told the story well, because I thought you took it at first, you know what I mean? I was just thinking my grandfather, he was big with, this is years ago. This is in, 60s and 70s. He was huge with the Red Cross.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking he would have rolled in his grave.
Yeah.
Seeing that.
And there's a lot of people that will be deeply upset by what they've seen. And UNICEF and the Red Cross are the biggest child traffickers out there. And that breaks my heart, because I thought these people were honourable.
Were they always like that?
No, they got contaminated somewhere down the line. I know that the Clintons probably contaminated them because they used them. But whether it was before that, I don't know. I'm sure it'll all come out, but it's just not good.
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do all that, you get huge. And one thing I thought that was impressive was, as you're doing this, you're keeping all your contacts.
Mm-hmm.
40,000, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
40,000?
Mm-hmm.
For somebody watching who's building themselves up, how were you able what were some skills that you used or learned just throughout yourself that you knew to keep those contacts. How did you get the contacts? Would you save them on a notebook, paper?
All in my phone, all in my mind. This is something that's very funny with my mind. My wife can speak 7-8 languages fluently.
Wow.
I can speak one, English. I've lived in Spain for 38 years. I don't speak Spanish. I'm a typically lazy Englishman. So I'm not good at that. Having said that, I've got 36 bank accounts, and I could tell you the number of every single one of them. I could tell you the login, I could tell you the password, I could tell you the balance. That's all in my head. I can do that, but I can't do languages.
Numbers guy.
Yeah, a total numbers guy. Always been that way. But I match perfectly with my wife, where she can't even remember her own logins and passwords. I remember hers and her mother's and Justin's.
Well, at least you get to say I'm right those 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So maybe you're three for 100.
Exactly.
3 for 1,000 probably.
So yeah, it's a spiritual connection with people. You know if they're good or bad. You know if they're right or wrong. My wife is better than I am at it, but I've learnt on my journey that certain people, yeah, they sit there and they're in your mind. So yeah, it's intuition.
But how did you build that portfolio of people that later in life ends up being massively beneficial toward you?
Well, I always say I'm an intellectual thief. So if I'm with somebody and I can't make any money out of them, I'll steal their brains instead. I'll learn something from them. I'll never say that was a waste of a conversation. I'll always try and take something away from it. And my wife teases me. She said, you talk to everyone. Doesn't matter where I am in the world, I'll talk to everyone. Even if they don't speak my language in Russia and China, I'll talk to everyone. I'll find a way. She said, now you get paid for doing it. And when you get paid for doing something you enjoy, I love talking to people.
It's no longer work.
It's no longer work. So I can talk to people, learn about people. It's amazing.
So now when do you decide, okay, I'm going to step away from, moving money around. I'm done with that. And I'm going to start Charlie TV.
Well, it didn't quite work like that, because when I was moving money around and they stopped me with that. They told me what I was doing. I was told to wait a phone call. And the conversation was basically that I'd been moving money around, and they wanted me to work on the inside rather than the outside. I was moving money out of Burkina Faso, and the diplomat that I was with there had told me that this was in November 19. They said, we're going to shut down the world's economy next year. So I was told in November 19 they were going to shut down the world's economy in 2020. But I was told 12 years before, and then 8 years before. And then when they told me in November 19 that they were going to do it next year, that's when I started doing my videos just on my phone out for my walk, saying, all of this stuff is a lie. It's all bullshit. Don't buy into it. And I started telling people what was going on, because I knew what was happening. So it wasn't an intention to have the Charlie Ward show at all. And what happened was, when we set this up, originally, I was on YouTube, and I had 37 followers, and having had 37 followers, we got it up to 167,000, and then they took me off YouTube completely.
That's shocking.
And they took me off Facebook and Instagram and everything else. They took me off everything.
They hit you all at once?
Yeah.
Like a domino effect, one after another after another?
Yeah. And that's when I decided to set up my own channel, just for fun. We set up lots and lots and lots of YouTube channels, but they took us down 15 times in total.
Now you're traveling around?
Yeah, I've been on tour in the US, and that was in Branson, Missouri. There was the location. And then there was Pennsylvania. There's different ways so our members can.
Oh, that's cool.
watch.
You can embed that.
Yeah, so they can they can watch me live.
Very cool. And then you have your newsletter.
Newsletters go out every single day.
Oh, wow.
To all of our members. Then we do an Insiders Club on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I did it this morning before I came with you. And we go live and we tell people what's going on. Tickets for different events. About me is everything about me. And then at the bottom there, for people who want to see, that's my beautiful wife there. And then at the bottom of the page is my wedding video so people can see the real Charlie Ward where I got married. It's a nice video. It tells people all about us.
And that will all be in the description.
Yep.
And then here, this is more of the naughty, right? Is this more of the naughty? The BitChute? Am I saying that right?
Everything that we do, BitChute is the same as YouTube. BitChute and Rumble are the two channels that came to us when we were taken down, that said we'll have you on our channel without all the rubbish. So on our own channel, we probably get between 50 and 100,000 views per video.
That's great, especially when it's off-site like this. That's hard. That is hard.
Well, we launched the channel on October the 3rd, 2020, and by November the 1st, we had 1 million followers.
Congratulations. That is incredible. Hard, Charlie. I'm a coder by nature, like I was telling you.
Yeah.
So I know code. This is before the Spotify thing. My bread and butter was building websites, getting them on page one the right way.
Yeah.
Not this bullshit that these people say. Hey, Charlie, give me $1,000. I'll get you on page one. They buy Google ads. They hide the ad sign.
Yeah.
Make it slow. After 3 months, oh, you're on page one, Charlie. Look what we did for you.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, you know what? I don't need you anymore. Remember, they're hiding that ad, that ad thing. And then, boom, you cut them off, and all they're spending is $200 of your $2,000 on Google ads slowly. Then you cut them off, and next thing you know, you're back to page 80. That's what they do, because they're not really doing anything.
No.
When done correctly, you're going into the code. You're optimizing it correctly, and once it's on page one, unless you're constantly adding stuff, which you would be, but someone who gets on page one, you no longer need that monthly reoccurring bullshit. It's not real. It's bullshit. It's a scam. The only time you would is if, for instance, you add a newsletter every day.
Yeah.
Then you would want to hire somebody to optimize that newsletter so it matches all your other pages. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a foreign language to me. Lee Hemington came on to me when I was on YouTube, and he said, I love what you're doing, but you haven't got a clue, have you? And I went, no. I just know that.
I'll tell you what, to get 1 million that quick on an offsite, I don't care who you are. This isn't through. That's congratulations is all I can say. That's very difficult to do.
Well, that's down to Lee Hemington. He's an amazing person who did that. He rode me like a bitch when we started. I was doing 5, 6, 7 videos a day.
Oh, my goodness. How long? How long was each one?
Between half an hour and an hour. I was working 20 hours a day.
Damn.
I was editing them myself at the time as well.
Yeah, that will kill you.
Yeah, it was. But we put it all out there. But he just said, you need content. And he said, I'll do the rest. And I never asked him what he was doing, but he was doing something that was very, very good, because we hit 4 million in 3 months.
That is insanely hard to do.
Very.
On his own site.
Yeah. That was drcharlieward.com.
Yeah. That's just amazing. It's just amazing.
And then we set up the Insiders Club, which was Jimmy Schwimm's idea, and I was against it for 3 months. I fought with him, and the trouble was he had my wife and Lee on side, and I said, this isn't about the money. This is all about the truth. I don't care about the money. And after 3 months of arguing with my wife about it, she won.
She won again, huh?
So I just said to her, look, if you're going to monetize it, then you're responsible. I don't want anything to do with it. And I said, if you make any money out of it, then you need to look after the boys and the girls who work for us. And they came up with this Insiders Club at $11 a month or $99 a year. And I went, yeah, that'll work, won't it? And I was just taking the mick, and then within the first month we had 45,000 people.
Holy moly.
Signed up.
Good for you.
And I was like, I suddenly saw $500,000 in my wife's account, and I said, "Oh,
she was right.
You need to look after the rest of them, don't you?" Well, she didn't want to pay anybody anything at the first. But no, she's been amazing. She's looked after them, and we've had affiliate programs that have been off the scale that have been amazing. But what it does do is it allows us to help other people. We now feed over 4,000 homeless people.
Oh, that's great.
And that's very fulfilling. For people like you and I who've bought boats, planes and cars and what have you, their fun is for a day. When you feed homeless people, I look for, when I get back home, it's the first thing I'll go and do is look after them and make sure they're okay, because we're setting up everything for Christmas for them to make sure they're warm, they're dry, and they're fed. The next phase will be education, to try not to get them back into society. That's not what I want to do. I want to get them back into the fact of self-worth. And I want, we're...
Because that's where it begins.
Yeah. Building them a garden.
Yeah.
So they can grow their own food. Then teaching them to build their own houses.
That's great. Because they're not going to learn that anywhere else right now.
And also they'll look after them if they build them.
That's beautiful.
That's our theory. We'll see.
Well, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
This one really caught my eye. The final warning to humanity from former Pfizer chief scientist Michael Yeadon.
Michael Yeadon, yeah, an incredible guy.
Yeah,
half a million views on BitChute. That had over 6 million views on our own channel.
Damn. Can you talk a little bit about that? And again, this will all be in the description, and this is one you want to watch. Well, this is really good.
Yeah, Michael Yeadon is an incredible man. He was the former director of Pfizer, and then he decided to come. He decided to come clean.
Good for him, you know.
Yeah, but there's another director of Pfizer that I've spoken to off the record, who said to me, "Charlie, I can tell you honestly, hand on heart, that no vaccine in history has ever worked. Not one. Not one of them has shown any sign of being any benefit whatsoever." Now, I've never had a vaccine of any kind, ever. I wasn't allowed to in the Plymouth Brethren. Wasn't allowed to. And suddenly now I'm the guy that's running at seen pound signs and changed the narrative. But this is a guy that knows everything that's going on. He's come out now, Mike has come out now and told the world.
Well, I had Dr. Malone in last week, the vaccinologist.
Yeah.
And as you know, all the data that he had gotten with COVID, and then oddly enough, the Chinese proctors were the right data, not the U.S. ones. Mm-hmm. We both know that. And he had said that, you know, they're starting to look into all vaccines. And when he went back and looked at the normal vaccines that every kid gets, there was no professional case studies done ever. No. None. Not even on mice, I believe he said. I don't want to misquote him. It was, you know, but the up to standard studies were never done on any of them.
No.
On any of them.
No.
So, you know, they're all looking back into those as vaccinologists because there was no third-party data testing that you would expect.
For me, I'm super, super happy because of the simple fact that these people who've been out there pushing this narrative don't have to answer to me. They have to answer to the Nuremberg trials. And if you've been pushing stuff that's killed people, that's genocide.
Mm-hmm.
We've been living through a Holocaust, whether you like it or not. There's more people being killed by the jab than died in the Holocaust. But also remember that during the Holocaust, nobody knew during the Holocaust that it was a Holocaust.
Big difference.
Yeah.
So Michael comes out and he spills the beans.
He tells the truth. And
I'll put this exact link on your website to that, because that is one hell of a podcast.
It's one hell of a podcast. Yeah. He tells the whole truth about what's going on in the world.
And the fact that you got him.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so these sort of things are very, very important that we understand the truth. We've been lied to. And this is why my journey is so important, because I was misled by my own parents, and that's not nice.
And now you're misled now. Again.
Yeah, well, they tried with me this time, but I've seen right through it.
But still, even though you've seen through it, you're going through it again.
Yep.
In a different way.
I'm going through it in a different way. You're absolutely right.
Do you have post-traumatic stress syndrome from what you've been through, or have you worked your way out of that, or you didn't let it get you like that?
No, I had something. I don't know what it was, but I've decided to be a man. Stand up. You can feel sorry for yourself. You have a choice.
Yeah.
You can sit there and feel sorry for yourself, or you can just man up, grow a pair, and realize you've got no safety net in life, so deal with it. And that's what I've done. I've gone through life and I've dealt with these issues. Yeah, I hit the bottle, I went out and got drunk, and I did this, I did drugs, I did everything. Did that answer the questions? No. I had to go within. And once I had a connection with God, that's how you start to grow. You don't need a psychotherapist. You don't need a shrink. You need to connect with God. That doesn't cost anything either.
It's free.
It's free.
Not $400 an hour.
Exactly.
If you
right.
want to actually
you can talk to God 24/7 for free. For free.
Free. Everybody hear that? Free,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You don't need a shrink. You just need to reconnect to God. That's it. And this isn't about religion. This is about spirituality. Completely different thing. Completely different thing. When you connect to what's within you, we know God as the creator. And he made us in his image.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're saying is God. God doesn't necessarily need to be the traditional God. Is that what you're saying? But there's a God of some sort. Nobody can deny that. There has to be.
Well, I used to think he lived upstairs.
Yeah.
Then I found he was actually within me. So then when I learned he was within me, I couldn't go places I went to hide from him. And I've been to many places that I shouldn't have gone to, thinking he couldn't see me.
And what happened?
Then I realised he's inside, and I was like, oh, no. And this is important, that when you realise that God's within you, and it's a feeling within you, that God protects you. And look, I'm one of those lads in life that I can find trouble dead easy. So the two lines of the Lord.
You and me both.
Yeah, the two lines are: lead me not into temptation, because I'm an absolute bugger. If you put temptation in my way, I'll find it. And deliver me from evil. Keep me out of the way of bad people. Keep me out of the way of evil. And that's my prayer every single day, because I know that if temptation's in my way, I'm not perfect.
Do you think, when you look at the world, when you look at me sitting here, Scott over there, you're here, do you think this is reality? Or do you think, like how I believe personally we evolved, I think we evolved through a lot of psychedelics. I think it's the only way we could have gone up to a lion and killed a lion, because the lion would smell pheromones. It would know that man isn't feared. A lion doesn't know if you're a human, a dog, or you're another lion. It knows by sense, right? Smell.
Mm-hmm.
So if that lion thinks that you're the predator, then you would be able to go possibly kill it with a stick. And if you're hammering DMT and ayahuasca and mushrooms and all that other shit that they had growing everywhere, like fire, which is proved, you'll go up to the lion, and the lion isn't. The lion's the one scared.
Of course.
So do you think this is reality, or do you think there's another reality?
I think that's a very good question, and I think there's many different answers to it, because I think there's different areas there. There's different parts. There's the reality that we live through, that we see. There's also your higher self, which is your spiritual side. That most people have been disconnected from, or we're always connected to it at birth. And it gets dumbed out of us, if you like. When you reconnect, you suddenly realise that I'm in a very peaceful place right now. I'm in a good place. Peace, quiet, tranquility, satisfaction. So there's both sides. There's what we live through as a normal side, but there's also a spiritual side that a lot of us have become detached from, and I think it's very important to be reconnected with ourselves. Whether aliens look like that or look like these, what are they? Who are they? If we just go through life and think that aliens only look like that, then we could miss aliens if they existed. And I believe they probably do.
I think so too. I think, let's just hypothetically say, that a lot of this, things that have come out. Let's say that 100,000 years ago, they saw an asteroid coming, they got the hell out of here, right? The body, just like we did here, would adapt to the environment that they're in. So maybe they left here looking like this, but maybe they do look something like that just through over time to adapt to the environment that they're in. Or maybe they look just like me and you. Who the hell knows?
That actually looks like the health minister of America.
Maybe I should put a name tag on
Exactly.
it. Actually, I might do that.
In fact, a lot of Biden's government look like that.
Well, the decisions that they're making,
Exactly.
I'm about to put the name tag on it, and maybe they'll talk to me or something.
Exactly, but it's got 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and a bald head, a bit like me.
Why do you think now, all of a sudden, that this? At first, I thought that when they all of a sudden they're UFOs, these are UFOs, blah 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 blah. Why now? And at first, I thought, well, this is a great way to distract from what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it got real thick, they would go to the UFO sighting shit. Mm-hmm. Something that we've all heard about forever, but now all of a sudden, this was a topic for 2 months, and now we haven't heard about it again. Where do you place that in your mind?
If you go, for those people who followed me for 2.5, 3 years, when I was told that this was all planned, they said we're going to start off with the virus, then we've got the vaccine, then we've got 5G, then riots, then alien invasion. They had it planned.
Where does 5G fall into it? What's
the 5G, first of all...
There's no 5G, right?
No, first of all, there is no 5G in the phones. Yeah. So if you look and it says 5G, then you know that Apple say it's now 5th generation. 5G in a phone will kill you.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the 5G towers was actually to be able to wipe out a lot of the population with the mRNA that they put in through the vaccine. That was the plan, but they were caught
through the static, like when it pings.
Well, they were going to turn the 5G towers up, and literally they did. When they tested it, it killed all the birds from
radiate the shit out of them.
Yeah,
right?
Of course it did.
Yeah.
It's very much the same, actually. I don't know if you know this with Bill Gates when he tested the COVID jab in India and in Africa. 35,000 children in India died instantly, and 50,000 in Africa. And they've paid out massive fines, and yet they've managed to get emergency use for the rest of the world.
If me and you did 3% of that, we'd be doing. We would be dead. We'd be in the chair.
I know, exactly.
Bill Gates, he's the devil.
Well,
he's one of the devils.
Yeah, he is, without a shadow of a doubt.
Pfizer.
Yeah. Well, that was a big wake up for me, is when they talked about this dangerous virus. Well, you don't need to do a lot of research to realize that you cannot biologically or chemically transmit a virus. It's impossible. So you go, why are they telling people that you can transmit a virus? It's biologically impossible to do so.
Why is that?
Well, because our bodies are made of viruses, but we transmit germs, and we're not scared of germs because we've grown up with them. You know why we're scared of viruses?
Because the word virus and the way that they portray the word virus.
How do they portray it?
Like you're going to die.
Computer.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Bill Gates created
Microsoft.
The problem was he made it too good.
And McAfee.
Yeah.
Yep.
He made it too good. And the only way he could make any more money, because everybody had these computers that worked forever, was to create a virus. And he created a virus in the computer.
And now everybody, when you hear virus, it's virus.
It's a virus, exactly. And then
virus control.
He was so clever, because not only did he create the virus, he came up with an antivirus. What a clever boy. This is how they work.
You can't say he's not smart. That's one thing you can't say.
He's very clever, but he's too good for his
devil.
He's too clever for his own good, exactly. And he'll be exposed for exactly that.
Wow. Now, if I gave you the keys and you could handle inflation, where would you begin? Here you go, Dr. Ward. Fix inflation. You can do whatever you want. Where would you start?
Well, first of all, inflation is man-made. It's not made by God. It's made to enslave. It's not part of the new system that we're working towards. This is all corrupt government that enslave people. This is how they do it. And there's loads of ways that they can create. They make wages less than goods and services.
So then you can't buy anything, so then you're forced to rely on the government.
Yeah. All of the inflation figures and all of that is all bullshit to enslave people. And that's what I'm fighting against. That's what we need to remove so that people are not enslaved anymore. But there will be people enslaved because they'll choose to be that way, because we'll live in a parallel universe where some people choose to have a paperback dollar, and they'll say you can choose any house you want and we'll buy it for you. You can live in it. And if you want a car, we'll give you one of those, but it's in the government's name. And then suddenly you'll find out, unless you do exactly what they say, they'll kick you out of the house. And there'll be a slow and painful death for these people who didn't listen. For those people who are listening, who go with the quantum financial system where it's controlled by God, it's controlled by off-planet, that you'll be able to buy your own house, but it'll be in your own name. You'll be responsible. You'll be responsible for your house. You'll be responsible for your car. You won't have to borrow money because you'll have more than enough money anyway. And it will be very interesting to see how it drips out over a period of time, because I've learned on my journey, the less I do for me and the more I do for other people, the more that God does for me.
It does feel better. I remember back when I had money like that with the Lamborghini, all that crazy shit. It didn't make me happy. But what did make me happy, it actually made me happier to go buy somebody something and see the joy out of them. It's odd when you get to that point.
Yep.
Like you had said earlier, because you buy it for yourself. Okay, you have it. It's fun for an hour. Okay, so what? Yeah. What's the next thing, right? It's just always the next thing and the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you do something for somebody that could never afford something like that, or just something really nice that they could never afford financially, and the way that they look, for me, it just kept me going.
Of course.
Because after you have a couple cars and a couple shit, you don't have to worry about anything in the bank. It's boring, kind of.
It is. It is very much so. And you go, and then what? And with men, it's like when you do start buying cars, and you go, well, what about the new one? What about the next one? What about the next one? Yep. It's in our DNA.
Then you get motorcycles, which are even stupider.
Exactly.
That's what I think. So I was like, okay, well, I got the cars. They were fun. All right, let's get some motorcycles.
Yep.
Yeah. Great idea for a lunatic like me at the time.
Yeah. No, I've been through the whole thing myself. Done the same thing.
Charlie will die. When I was probably 22, I had a crotch rocket in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, ripped up, and it would be 30 degrees, and I get on the crotch rocket in a wife beater, and pick up my girl, and she'd be like, and her mom would come out, don't mean at time, bro, you're gonna freeze. Don't worry about it, because you got girl, you have a wife beater on in the winter, alpha male, boom.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I almost wrecked it and got killed, and then that one scared me. I wrecked it on the turnpike, and I mean this close. And no more.
No more.
That was it. Right then and there, done.
Yeah.
Too close from that one.
Yeah. Look, we've done some crazy stuff in our lives, but this is all part of the journey. One thing I've learned is that sharing what I've learned in my life with other people helps them as well as it helps me. I always try and encourage people to, rather than put anybody down, even what we're going through right now with the truth community, there's a lot of infighting going on. Oh, he lies. He's not. Don't. If you're not connected with that person, don't criticize them. Leave them. At least they're doing something. And find somebody that you resonate with, rather than be destructive. There are so many people who can't help themselves. Oh, you got this wrong. Oh, I'm not going to listen to you again. Oh, fine. The people out there, so many people who are trying their best to get the truth out to people, trying to get the message out to people of hope. Oh, it's just hopium. It's like, really? No, I'm out there trying to do the best I can with an honest heart, whether you like it or not, whether you like me or not. If you don't like me, just turn off and find somebody else you like. I'm not, I try and do the best I can. I do an awful lot of research. I check things through. I don't always get things right. As I've said, I'm not the Messiah. I'm just Charlie. And that's how I am. I do the best I can, and I do it with a clear conscience and a clean heart. I try and find out the truth. That's what I'm trying to do.
How far do you think we are away from the point where those will have to make a choice? Either you're going to go with the quantum, right? Or you're going to go where the government owns your house and you're renting it, basically, and A, B, C, D, E, you don't have your house anymore. How far away do you think we are from that?
If they had control of it, it would be 2030. But they're being pushed with Operation Warp Speed, and I would suggest that we'll start to see things happen at the end of this year and beginning of next. That's how I see it. But as I wind Simon Parkes up on a regular basis, I said it'll all be done by Thursday. I just don't know which Thursday.
Yeah, a lot. I always hear 2030. How many? Don't they want like a certain amount of people gone, dead?
Yeah, they want
like 100 million or 10 million.
They want 90% of the population gone
by 2030, right?
Yeah, and they're working on it. They're doing everything they can, but they've been caught. You know, and it's all on their website, so you don't have to take my word for it. You go to their website, the World Economic Forum, WE Forum. And it's all there. They've tried to hide it again, that you will own nothing and you'll be happy, because they've realized that we're exposing them.
And that's Gates, Pfizer behind it.
George Soros,
of
Klaus
course.
Schwab.
Of course.
Noah Harari, Yuval Noah Harari, who's the Antichrist.
And I'm sure a bunch more just buried under the levels. But, you know, to take the world under control like that, you have to have a ton of money.
Yep.
Bill Gates and Pfizer, and then you throw in the other ones.
Yeah, exactly. And Soros is just the Rothschild. He's just their bitch, you know, and he's always been that. He's a bitter and twisted man. But look, the good thing is there's people standing up to them, and they're not having it all their own way. In fact, they're going to lose.
And as we talked about, just wait until, like you said, the wages continue to go down and the prices go up, and you're going to see. I'm with you right now. You know, they may have 90%, 95% of the people under the little spell. But when they go to the store, when they got that kid that they can't stop crying because they can't go get a data card to give the kid the iPad, which they shouldn't be doing anyway, but to quiet the kid. I'm guilty of it too. I just had my first. She's 2. And I'm not going to fight with the mom all day and night. Fine, whatever. A couple hours, whatever. But, you know.
Look, people vote with their pockets. They don't vote with blue or red. This is all a fallacy. It's all done to divide. The reality is that at the moment people are struggling, and they're going to struggle. It's going to be a tough winter for a lot of people, but they need this to wake people up to what's really going on.
And now, what do you see happening in 2024? When that comes around, what do you see? Do you think Biden runs? Because he's getting like a little bit of a bump here because on paper.
Look, from a visual point of view, because remember this has all been done before anyway, so we know. I would imagine that the military will expose Biden as a thief who stole the election
prior to 2024.
Yeah, prior to 2024. I think this year or I think the end of this year. They'll expose him as a thief. Most people know that he was a thief. Most people know that he stole the election. He never, ever got anywhere near the votes that he claimed he had.
You mean 80 million more than any other president in history?
Exactly. Never. Not in a million years.
Like him or hate him, I mean, you can't say that.
No, he got under 20 million votes. I know that factually. So all we're waiting for now is the exposure. But rather than the good guys exposing them, they're letting them do it themselves. It takes longer, but it has to be done that way.
Well, we saw how quick they knocked off 2,000 Mules.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you saw that.
Yeah, Dinesh D'Souza's a lovely, lovely man.
I keep people that come in, I always ask, have you seen 2,000 Mules? No, I haven't. What do you mean you haven't seen it? Are you reading anything?
You have to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's go get it off his site. I mean, it's plain to see.
Yeah, he's done a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of work. Cash Patel's done a lot of hard work. The guys have done a lot of hard work.
You spoke to him, right?
Yeah, I spoke to both.
How is he in person? Good guy?
Yeah, lovely.
Very
lovely man.
Yeah.
These are all good people. These are all good people, and this is the importance of what we're doing right now with the tour in America, is getting to meet these people face to face.
And Charlie, to get that much footage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They just cut up what they could get in the 2 hours.
Oh, I know.
I think he had millions of hours of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whew. And I don't know where it is now, but I know when I went to get it, you could only get it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you had to go through a site.
Yeah.
It's still the same?
Yep.
If you haven't seen it, whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's just the fact that it can be done.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're a Democrat, it could be done to you too.
Exactly.
You know, and overall, it's just the principle of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it's supposed to be, where you have people going 3 times a day with 7 mail-in votes to the same drop box.
Yeah. Yeah.
All day, every day.
Yep.
On camera.
Yep.
And you know it's like the Walmart camera because me and you have been on them.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what it looks like.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, it's mind-blowing.
It is.
And you would think that it would be talked about more.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, like everything else, suppressed.
Yeah, of course it is. Mainstream media control everything like that. Or they have done. Now they're slipping through their fingers and they're not happy.
Well, because, like you said, when it affects your pocketbook, that's when people start looking. Until then, they're just blinded by, the everyday walks, the routine of life. But then when it starts affecting things, then you start wondering. Because I could tell you probably 10 or 20 people had texted me about this Apple thing going on from 11 to 40. And I said, I told you that 6 months ago, but you thought I was nuts. You thought I was nuts to say, hey, you should probably get some canned food, keep it, grow some shit, get extra water. You're crazy. For what? I'm crazy? Look at Netflix. They're through the roof. These are big jumps for people, making 30, 40 grand a year, and you see it happening now.
Yep.
Now, I see all over your sites, gold, silver.
Yep.
So talk to me about gold, silver.
Well, I'm old-fashioned.
Good.
I took all my money out of the bank because I didn't trust them, and I've got it in gold and silver. And we've spent a lot of time trying to find the right people. So Adam and James there these guys understand what it's about far better than I do, so that they can find out. Each person has a different need. And they will talk to anybody, and we obviously have different gold suppliers in America than we have in Europe because of transportation issues.
That's a big thing, too, the 401k. They're going to eat that to shreds.
Yeah, very, very simply, we're just saying to people, look, take your money out of a 401k and put it into gold so that it's safe. And
now, when you buy gold, silver, so on and so forth, what's the difference? I mean, I understand gold, silver, but if you're investing in it, so say I have $500,000, okay? What would be the benefit to me buying gold? I mean, not as far as saving it, turning it from dollar to a physical block. What would be the benefit to going with silver? And what would be the benefit to going with gold, and what would be the disadvantage? If I'm going to put my money into it, say okay, gold, but I can get more silver. Could you tell me the advantages and disadvantages to buying each? Well, I think a lot of people are starting to get interested in this.
Well, this is why I've got Adam and James, because I'm not qualified.
Okay.
I've done my own thing. I prefer gold to silver. That's just a personal thing.
Me too.
It's just less bulky, that's it.
It looks better than me and just sounds better.
Yeah,
a gold block just sounds better.
It does. But Adam and James are at the end of the line, so that you can simply make a call to them, and they'll discuss with you what your needs are, etc.
Great. We'll have them in the description as well.
Yep, sure.
And that's great.
They'll
so
help
you
everyone.
just did. See, if you don't know something, you just say, hey, look, I don't know.
They're qualified to do that.
What about the market? What do you think about the market?
I don't get involved.
Nothing with
the minute I realised that 95% of the money never leaves, I went, that's a big boys casino, that. I don't like it at all.
Not at all.
No, because I talked to somebody the other day and they were talking about investing in businesses and all the rest of it, making money. I've gone, I'm old-fashioned, and I have a friend who's an old man who used to be a builder, and he's now 80 years old, and he knows everything about building. So what he's done, he's got a fortune in the bank. What he's done is all the other young builders, he's gone, boys, I'll lend you the money for 1% a month. but you put me on the land, title deed, and on the property while you're building it. But I'll lend you the money without all the bullshit and questions at 1% a month. They build houses quicker than anybody could ever build houses. And he pops around and uses his skill sets and his advice to these young men. That, I think, is really clever.
Absolutely.
And it gets him out the house.
Yeah.
His wife is over the moon. He's got about 30 or 40 builders that he's lending the money to, just going around checking them up. I like that. That's better than any stock exchange, and that's making him 12% compound every year. You can't get that anywhere else.
I agree with you. And he gets away from the wife for a little while.
He gets away from the wife.
And I'm sure she wants his ass out too.
Exactly. That to me is common sense.
Yeah. Very interesting. When I had an engineering firm, I didn't know anything about engineering. I just wanted to get with this girl. And I had figured that retired engineers, like big ones, their wives have got to hate them being there because, you know, they worked 10, 12 hours a day. So I went on Craigslist and I hired all retired engineers and they couldn't wait, you know, part-time, and they were the best. They would not use AutoCAD. They were old school with the Octagon. We actually worked on the breakers. It was funny how it all happened. Right. But, you know, just how things work like that, it's really mind-blowing, you know? When you try to digest all of this at once, it's a nut thing. It's a really nutty thing. And then, what do you think of Putin? People keep saying he's stupid. I don't think he's stupid, in my opinion, nor do I think his military is weak. But what do I know? What's your opinion on Putin?
Well, I've met him many times. And he's going to come on my show.
Is he?
Yeah.
I think he's smart as... I think...
If you think he's a fool...
I don't think he's a fool at all.
Not. He's a very clever man. He's a lawyer. And for anybody who's never met him, he's a very, very nice guy, but he's a very clever guy. He's nobody's fool. Nobody's fool at all. He probably wouldn't remember me because he meets so many people, and I've learned that on this journey. You meet people. But I had a lot of respect for him. I knew right from day one that he was working closely with Trump, with Modi in India, and with Xi in China, Xi Jinping. They work very closely together. They've just been joined by the Ayatollah in Iran and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. So they're good guys taking down the deep state and the cabal. These are men with balls. Putin was out there doing a job. He had to stop the child trafficking and paedophilia and the bioweapons factories in Ukraine, and he's done that. What you see in the mainstream media is a 100% lie, not 99% lie, 100%. It's pure bullshit. It's lie. There's nothing truthful they put in there about Russia, Ukraine. He's gone in there. He's not trying to take over the country. He's basically taken back. You have to also remember the facts.
The Soviet Union.
They never defined their borders. Still a state of Russia.
I don't understand why the fuck we're getting involved in this. But
well, that's why NATO and the United Nations can't get involved, because it's a state of Russia. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to work it out.
But yeah, we're just sending money over there left and right.
Well, why are you sending money? What for? To protect the assets of the...
Protect the fucking assets, yep.
Of the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, the Schiffs, the Pelosi's, the whole lot. The money's over there. It's not going to the Ukrainian people. Don't be silly. It's going to protect their assets. And that's why...
See, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
You're right. Makes
that's
sense.
all it's going there for. That's why he's sending it over.
Yeah.
Name me one reason why America would send money to Ukraine.
The only reason would be what they tell you.
Exactly.
You know, they're getting crushed, even though it was the Soviet Union, even though Putin's been in there for 20 gazillion years. You know, what, he take 2 years off, kind of, you know. Oh, what, Putin's going to, right away when they started saying about Putin's military is weak, I said to myself, because I watch Putin.
Yeah.
And I think he's smart. I think he's tough.
He is.
But I think he's willing to negotiate, right? I don't think he's an asshole. I don't.
Well, we know that. We know he's willing to negotiate,
yeah,
because him and Trump are great friends.
No problems.
They respect each other.
That's right. And
they're two warriors.
And when they said that Putin had a weak military, I thought to myself, are you blind?
Yeah.
He's got military coming from other countries. Why do you, and I would say to people, do you actually think that Putin is going to send his best guys so that the U.S. can see them, China, even though they're getting along now, so the world can see his best over Ukraine?
Mm-hmm.
You really think he's going to send his best? Oh, yeah, he sent the red hats. I said, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
If you think Putin is going to show his cards over Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
If he wanted to, he could just level that in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
he got bad info. Maybe he did get bad info. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Either way, he's not dumb, and there's no way in hell he's going to send anywhere near of his top guys for Ukraine.
No.
He's going to risk like his top hell.
This is all pantomime. It's all complete rubbish. What the media says.
Do you think he did get bad information? And
Who?
it kind of Putin?
No.
You think this is all,
it's all bullshit.
Strategic the whole time?
Yeah, it's all bullshit. He knew exactly what was going on, and on top of that, on top of sorting out the trouble in Ukraine,
he faked them out.
Yeah, he's done everything, but he's not just done that. He's also pointed out to Xi Jinping in China, where all the rubbish is in Taiwan.
So you have to think China's going to take Taiwan.
Oh yeah,
before the election.
No, what they're going to do is remove the corrupt child trafficking and the bioweapons factories.
And right before the election.
I don't know when.
You don't know when?
I do know that I was told early on that the first thing Trump would start this, Putin would be the second domino to fall, where he took out Ukraine. The third one would be Xi Jinping to sort out Taiwan, and Taiwan have been negotiating hard to make sure there's not the same problems that Ukraine had. And the final jigsaw piece would be Iran taking out Israel.
Whew. What do you think of Xi Jinping? What do you think of him?
He's had a tough job to do. He did the great public exposure of where the number 2 was removed publicly at his inauguration in China, which basically said the CCP's over, done. But I knew that a long time ago. 2 years ago, the CCP was over. And I know the Dragon family in China personally. I know them very well. I've known them for 30 years. And they're very humble people. They've waited their time. Now they're seeing the collapse of the CCP and the re-establishment of the Republic of China, the People's Republic, rather than the Communist Party. So, yeah, we're in a good place.
Tell me about Shermani. You talked about her on your podcast. Would they take her license because anti-vax, or what was the whole exposure about her?
I'm trying to remember which one that one.
Yeah, it was Katie Shermani.
Oh, Kate Shermani.
Yeah.
Oh, she's just been on my show again the other day. She's amazing. I love her.
Yeah, could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, what's happening with her at the moment is she's exposing that they have an agenda which is NG191 to reduce the population.
Unbelievable. They got names for this and everything.
Yeah, they've got everything, and she's exposing it because there's certain good nurses and doctors within there that have exposed it, and they get paid. Now, in the no, that's a lie, not in the United Kingdom, in England. So it's just England, it's not Scotland, Wales and Ireland, just England. Their target is to reduce the population of England by 1,673.5 people per day. And if they don't hit their target, they lose money to the National Health Service. And if they do hit their target and above, they get more money. But they're targeting old people. They're targeting disabled people. And they're targeting pregnant people who they're saying your child's going to be deformed. So we need to abort it. And they're getting paid for doing it. And she's going out and she's going public about it. And I'm backing her up and putting it out as much as possible.
And they did yank her license over that, didn't they?
Oh, she's been taken out for a long time. They hate her because she's exposing them. She's saying, "You might hate me, I don't care, but you're gonna land up in front of the military tribunals, and you will face the judge for crimes against humanity, which, if you remember, comes with a mandatory death sentence." So these doctors and nurses will be executed for their crimes, and they will be held accountable. It's all very well sitting there going, well, I didn't know. Ignorance is no defence, as you and I know from our days of driving cars too fast. If you stand in front of a judge and go, sorry, judge, I didn't know the speed limit.
Yeah.
Ignorance is no defense. It's coming back to bite you in the bum.
So can you imagine? Now, what are you, 39, 40 years old? You're about 40 years old?
I'm 62 and happy.
In your 62 years, could you ever imagine a doctor who goes to med school, basically gives up half their life, and you're going to take their license over a medical decision that they make?
You can't make it up. It just shows you how corrupt it is. But I've known how corrupt it is for a number of years because I've seen the change in the medical profession now. I was talking to a gynecologist the other day, and he said most of my clients are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's not a fun job being a gynecologist. So he said when a young Russian girl walks in with some new medicines,
He goes, yes.
oh, exactly. I'll have whatever you're selling, girl, and I'll take you out for dinner. And this is how they work, and this is what they've been doing. They've been using girls from that part of the world who come in with very long legs and short miniskirts, and yeah, they look very sexy. And of course, the doctors, it's a breath of fresh air in the nicest possible way.
I'll tell you a quick story. I talked to a guy who had worked for Lilly early on when Tadalafil, Cialis first came out. And, that was the easy sell. He'd go around, killed it. Then it went to SRIs, the depression meds. Went around, killed it. Then they started giving the Oxy, which wasn't Oxycontin at the time. It was, I guess, the oxycodone, just the codeine or hydrocodone or whatever it was. When that started, when the pain drugs, maybe it wasn't hydroxy, but it was one of the pain pills that you get addicted to. They gave him $20,000 a month, and if he didn't spend all $20,000 a month on the doctors taking him to dinner, he got discounted on his paycheck.
Yeah.
If he spent all $20,000, he got a bonus.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep.
So they literally gave him a card for $20,000 a month to work you, work him, work her, work that. And if you don't spend that $20,000, we're cutting your paycheck by 20%. Correct. And if you do, we're going to give you 20% more.
On top, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Now, if I did that even once, I would get a 20-piece.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
And these pharmaceutical companies, they go in, they make what, $200, $300, $400 billion, kill a gazillion people, go in, okay, Pfizer, okay, Merck, okay, Lilly, $20 billion.
Yep.
They don't care. They just made $400. Where do how quick can I pay you? Okay, see you guys later. We're going to go make the next one.
Exactly. That's what they've been doing for
years.
years.
Isn't that unbelievable?
It is. Crazy.
I mean, it never ends. And the other podcast I saw that I'd like you to elaborate on was Brazil. You did a podcast on Brazil. And again, I'm happy that they voted not to kill the Amazon rainforest because they were about to cut that the hell down, which would be insane because we would never know our history.
Yep.
So elaborate a little bit on Brazil and what you've learned and know about.
Well, we'll start off with Anna Marins. Anna is a beautiful, beautiful soul. And she's been translating my podcasts into Portuguese to reach the Brazilian people. And she's done amazing work, so she's definitely worth a shout-out. And she's just a very, very special young lady. She's an absolute angel and rock star.
Lucky to have her. Lucky to have her on your team, right?
She's been on with me for 2.5 years, right from the start. She's an amazing human being. And what we're seeing at the moment, another stolen election.
Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie. Did you just mean loyalty?
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Rare and far few between.
Well, I've been very blessed with my audience. They've been very loyal. We've been infiltrated by a few that have left, but that's fine. And we've been, as people who've been left because they haven't got the stamina for this, and that's their own choice, that's their own thing. I don't hold it against anybody. There's a million reasons why people don't follow you or what have you. The right people will follow. Those that leave for their own reasons. If you're going to leave, I'm doing the best I can. Don't be critical, unless you're doing more than me. If you're doing more than me, you can come on our team. I'll be over the moon.
I was going to say, I don't think so. At your age, moving around like you are, sharp as nails, you would think you're 40.
Well, my brain tells me I am, between
how's
30
the body
and 40.
feel?
The body thinks it's 90. But I'm enjoying it. It's not a choice, it's a calling.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. So, yeah, with Brazil, there's things that are going on that are being exposed, and we're watching it all be exposed right now.
What are a couple of things that are being exposed?
Well, the election fraud, and obviously the rainforest.
Did you see that? Do you see the commercial for his when the president of Brazil was running for president? He had the he had all the girls in string bikinis, thong bikinis. You ever see that, Scott? No. When he was running, I can never say his last name. You know, like we'll see
Bolsonaro.
Yeah. You know, we'll see. You know, one hitting the other president. Blah blah blah. This guy's literally at his presidential desk, and there's one girl here, practically naked. And I mean 20s, not 10s, 20s, right, Joe? And another one over here, another one, and he's just sitting there at his desk with these beautiful Brazilian women, you know, giving his presidential pitch, right? And
was that Luna or was that Bolsonaro?
It was Bolsonaro.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And I think he got stabbed and almost died.
Yeah.
But they couldn't take him out all the way.
There's a lot going on, but we're in a good place anyway.
So, I don't know. You just blew my mind with a lot of this stuff.
Well, it's been nice talking to you. These are things that it's important that we talk about. And as I've said many times on this journey, I'm not asking you to trust me, believe me. Go and do your own research, find out. And then when you find out the information, but a lot of people have said to me, how can we trust you, Charlie, over against the professionals? I've heard that said many times. And I said, it's not about trusting me. It's about trusting yourself. And when you learn to trust your intuition, which has been dumbed out of the population, you will make mistakes as you learn, because you're starting again. Don't be scared to make mistakes. You'll learn from them. That's where you learn. You don't learn from success. You learn everything from failure, because you question it, you challenge it. But then you'll grow. And as you grow, you'll get confidence. And as you get confidence, you'll stand up for what you believe in. And that's where we're at. We know what we're talking about. We've done a lot of research. And we're in a good place. But it's good to talk to you.
2 last questions.
Yeah.
What's your favorite country that you've been to?
That's always an interesting question. It's a question I've been asked 100 times, if not 1,000 times. And
okay, what is the most? I don't want to be like what is the most beautiful country?
The most beautiful country is South Africa.
Yeah.
Run by idiots, sadly, fucked up by man.
Yeah.
But it comes down very much nowadays to it's not the country, it's the people you're with. That when you could be with a group of complete wankers in paradise and it's shit, or you could be in downtown Detroit with a group of great people and it's amazing. So I've learned on my life's journey, it's not where you are, it's who you're with. And yes, the Maldives are beautiful, but if you're on the Maldives, on an island in the Maldives with a woman you don't like, there's nowhere to hide, there's nowhere to run. It's a nightmare.
And then on a positive note,
yeah.
Out of all these places you've been, give me one really good, funny story that happened to you. Some crazy thing that happened to you that just pops out in your mind.
Well, the first thing that pops out in my mind was when we were in Koh Samui in Thailand, and we took Justin.
I love hearing these stories.
Yeah, we took Justin to Nikki Beach in Koh Samui. And the dancers were this is very much in keeping with what's happening right now. They were ladyboys. So they started off life, you know. And Justin was watching them dance. And he said to me, "Daddy, what are they?" And I said, "They're ladyboys." And he said, "What's a ladyboy?" I said, well, it's ever so simple. He started off life as a boy and turned into a lady. He prefers like that. He said, well, they can't really dance, can they? And I thought that was a young boy, you know. They dance like men.
Yeah.
You know, the only man that I've ever known it's 2 men that I know that can dance. One was Michael Jackson, the other was Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
And but
Chris Brown. Chris Brown can dance really good too.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, but women you tend to find, my wife is a beautiful dancer, elegant, stunning. But when you see blokes dancing on stage in Koh Samui,
we do the 2-step.
Exactly.
And just bob.
He worked it out at 7 years old that they weren't dancing right. But so that's my funny story.
Oh, good for him. And I'll tell you what, Dr. Ward, everything you've been through, everything you've accomplished, amazing. Yeah. Amazing. And honor to have you here. Hope you come back again.
I'd love to.
This was fun and really interesting. And this is how it should be. You know, just 2-3 guys just having a conversation, and that's it.
Exactly. And it's constructive.
And it's constructive, yeah. Yeah, having a good time.
Yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I hope you come back, buddy.
Definitely.
You're the best. Thank you.